Chapter 10. Xiaofan thought to himself. According to the inner disciples, becoming an outer disciple was equivalent to attaining a higher level in the martial Tao. They would be groomed by the sect and would be given elixirs every month. They could even choose martial techniques and secret manuals. That's great, Xiaofan. At this moment, a supervisor looked at Xiaofan with a sharp gaze. Oh. Xiaofan was stunned. Xiaofan, from today onwards, you are an outer disciple of our Cloud Rain sect. Our Cloud Rain sect is one of the top 5 sects in Beacon Fire Empire. All of our disciples are extraordinary. You will be respected when you travel the pugilistic world. You must pay attention to your health and bearing in the future. Everything you say and do is not to be trifled with. You must not tarnish the reputation of Cloud Rain sect. Most importantly, you must not collude with the demon race. The demon race is the natural enemy of the human race. Any disciple of our Cloud Rain sect, from the core disciple to the inner disciple, must draw their sword and slash the moment they encounter a demon race. They must not be soft-hearted or be bewitched by the demon race. Do you understand? Oh, I know about this. The demon clan feeds on the brains of humans. They are extremely cruel and violent. If I encounter the demon clan, I will naturally strike first. Oh, no, I should strike first. Otherwise, if my brain is sucked by them, it will not be a joke. Xiaofan nodded in agreement. That's fine. Also, you relied on precious resources to complete your bone burst. You can say that you have no martial Tao foundation. Therefore, you must not be complacent. After all, martial Tao is still dependent on talent and perception. Another supervisor looked at Xiaofan with disgust. Xiaofan looked at the supervisor's gaze and his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that because of my poor background, these people are going against me? One of the managers said with a smile after looking at his face. Xiaofan, don't think too much. The sect will give you all the benefits that you deserve. However, you must remember that Cloud Rain sect has a large number of outer disciples and the competition is extremely intense. The sect will only focus on nurturing the outstanding ones. We will not spend too much manpower and resources to nurture those mediocre ones. Survival of the fittest. All in all, as long as you have a future, the sect will not care about your background. Alright, I'll get someone to bring you to collect your benefits and arrange a place for you to stay. After saying that, the manager looked at the edge of the square. The young men and women who had stopped to watch turned around and left. These fellows. The manager could not help but laugh. Soon after, he waved his hand at a young man at the edge of the square who did not intend to leave. Ah Cho, come here. Oh, yes, manager. The young man walked over as if he was flying. Xiaofan, this is Ah Cho. He can be considered as your senior brother. His cultivation has also reached the peak of the viscera refinement realm. He is a very good person. The manager introduced him to Xiaofan with a smile. Huh? Ah Cho? Xiaofan looked up and saw that the young man was tall and slender. He was full of energy and his breathing was steady. However, his face was completely ruined. There was a large red scar on his face, like some kind of tinea. It took up 3/4 of his face, and even his nose and lips were covered by the tinea. The tinea was not only red and very eye-catching, there were even small protruding beans on it. It looked very disgusting. This. Ah Cho, no wonder this person is called Ah Cho, he is indeed very ugly. Xiaofan muttered in his heart. But soon after, he thought, I am just a live target. I don't have a good background. What right do I have to talk about other people's beauty or ugliness? With this thought, Xiaofan smiled at Ah Cho. Senior brother Ah Cho, I am Xiaofan. I just entered the outer sect. Please take care of me. Ha, junior brother Xiaofan. You flatter me. Ah Cho looked at Xiaohan's face and found that there was no obvious disdain or disgust in Xiaohan's eyes. Thus, he was very happy and spoke politely to Xiaohan. Ha ha ha, Cho, I see that you and Xiaohan hit it off quite well. Then you can bring Xiaohan to collect his benefits. Also, tell Xiaohan some of the outer sect rules. A manager smiled and waved his hand at Xiaohan and Ah Cho. Go, go. Junior brother Xiaohan, please follow me. Ah Cho warmly greeted Xiaohan. All right. Xiaohan followed Ah Cho and left the plaza. Ha ha ha, look. One is of lowly birth and is a live target. The other is extremely ugly. These two people really appreciate each other. Birds of a feather flock together. Ha 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 ha. The three managers couldn't help but laugh. Xiaohan was brought by Ah Cho and left the plaza. They stepped onto a large road. They walked along the large road. This large road was very wide. It could at least allow 10 horses to run side by side. The road was clean and spotless. Countless thousand-year-old trees were planted on both sides of the road. It was full of antiquity. Wisps of immortal qi floated around Xiaohan's body. It was faintly discernible. Other than that, there were rows upon rows of shops. Xiaohan took a slight breath and smelled a thick medicinal fragrance in the air. It made him feel relaxed and happy. The passers-by were all young talents. The men were either vigorous and ferocious, or like the reincarnation of a wild beast. Some were elegant and graceful, some were cold and aloof. The women were beautiful, the daughter of a humble family, the heroine. These men and women were dragons and phoenixes among men. They were all outer sect disciples. Not only were their physical bodies fuller than any inner sect disciple that Xiaohan had seen before, but their spirit and bearing were also a cut above others. TSK. This atmosphere. Xiaohan couldn't help but exclaim. Junior brother Xiaohan, how is the outer sect atmosphere? Ah Cho smiled. Good. Very good. No wonder all the inner sect disciples want to enter the outer sect at all costs. That's great. There's a sense of transcendence everywhere. Xiaohan nodded sincerely. That's right. Ah Cho nodded too. Xiaohan, let me tell you. You've been an outer sect disciple for a few years and have some experience. When you go out in the future, you'll be respected everywhere. After a pause, Cho introduced again. Xiaohan, our Cloud Rain sect has a total of 10 outer sect peaks like this. They are called the 10 outer sect peaks. On each peak, there are about 2,000 outer sect disciples. What? 10 outer sect peaks? Over 2,000 disciples on each peak? TSK. Wouldn't the entire Cloud Rain sect have over 20,000 outer sect disciples? Xiaohan was shocked. Yes. Xiaohan, the competition between the 10 outer sect peaks can be said to be intense. Our peak is slightly weaker. Among the 10 peaks, we're probably ranked 7th or 8th. If it wasn't for the support of the two geniuses, senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran, I'm afraid our ranking would drop. However, senior brother Ling and senior brother Meng might enter the inner sect at any time. By then, our peak might be at the bottom. Ah Cho revealed a worried expression. Oh. I see. Xiaohan nodded. Then, he had a thought and said softly. Senior brother Ah Cho, I want to ask about someone. Who? Who do you want to ask about? Xiaohan, I've been in the outer sect for 5 years. Putting aside everything else, I know a lot of people. Who do you want to ask about? Ah Cho said. Is there an outer sect disciple called Shuejianfeng? Xiaohan's voice trembled slightly. Shuejianfeng? Ah Cho paused and said with widened eyes. That's one of the top figures among the outer sect disciples. A prodigy who entered the outer sect 3 years ago. Now, he's already starting to change his blood. His fleshly body is about to be tempered to the point of showing off his abilities. He's only 18 years old, right? His sword skills are unparalleled and has already reached the qualifications to enter the inner sect. However, he's arrogant and unruly. He claims that he wants to absorb true energy into his body. After he reaches the true energy realm, he will grandly become an inner sect disciple. He might even directly ascend and become a true disciple. Why? Xiaofan, you know Xianfeng? He's a super expert of the 10 peaks in the outer sect, the strongest peak. If you have a friendship with him, then your future will be very good. In the outer sect, no one will dare to provoke you. Even some inner sect disciples will have to give you face. Ah Cho looked at Xiaofan and said. So powerful. Xiaofan licked his lips. Senior brother Ah Cho, you misunderstood. I don't know him. I'm just asking casually. I'm just a live target. How could I know such a person with such great talent? That's true. Xianfeng is too arrogant and has very few friends. Maybe geniuses have very few friends. Ah Cho chuckled and said. Suddenly, Xiaofan murmured in an extremely low voice. Xianfeng. I lost a very precious thing. One day, I must get it back from him. Xiaofan, what did you say? Ah Cho asked suspiciously. Oh, nothing, Xiaofan quickly said. Oh right, senior brother Ah Cho, what other rules are there in the outer sect? Tell me about them. There aren't any special rules. In fact. Ah Cho lowered his voice and said. Rules are all fake. As long as one is powerful, who cares about rules? Rules my ass. But between outer sect disciples, private fights are strictly forbidden. If there's enmity or hatred, both sides must discuss beforehand and settle it on the stage. For example, if I offended other outer sect disciples, according to the rules, they can't beat me up in front of me. If they want to fight me, they must get my permission. Both sides will agree on a time and fight on the stage to decide the winner. That's a good rule. Xiaofan laughed. Alright, we're here. Xiaofan, I'll bring you in to collect your welfare first. Ah Cho brought Xiaofan outside a magnificent building. The two walked in one after the other. Ah Cho stepped forward and helped Xiaofan with some procedures, and took out a brocade bag. Xiaofan, open the bag yourself. This is the basic welfare. You can collect it once a month. Ah Cho smiled and said. Look at it as we walk. I'll bring you to where you live now. Oh, there's a key in the bag. It's the key to the courtyard gate that was given to you. The place you live is not far from where I live. It's good that we can take care of each other. I'll bring you there now. Alright. I'll have to trouble senior brother Ah Cho to take care of everything. Xiaofan smiled and opened the bag. The bag wasn't big. There was only a string of coins, a small booklet and a key inside. Xiaofan was stunned. Why aren't there any medicinal pills? I heard that outer sect disciples get medicinal pills every month. Xiaofan, do you see that string of true martial coins? That's the currency of our Fire Beacon Empire's martial Dao sections. With true martial coins, you can go to any martial Dao sect in Fire Beacon Empire to buy medicinal pills, martial arts manuals, weapons, secret realm maps. This is the hard currency of us martial artists. Look at the shops over there. There's a medicinal pill shop, a weapon shop, and the street stalls over there. Some outer sect disciples will set up street stalls and sell martial arts manuals, all kinds of materials, herbs, rare treasures. As long as you have enough true martial coins, there's nothing you can't buy. Ah Cho started introducing non-stop. Oh. So it's not just medicinal pills, but coins. Xiaofan suddenly realized. He looked at the string of true martial coins. There were about 100 of them. Every month, 100 true martial coins is the basic welfare of us outer sect disciples. Ah Cho grinned and said. The 10 peaks of the outer sect, the disciples of each peak receive different basic welfare every month. For example, our peak can only be ranked 7th or 8th among the 10 peaks. Then, the basic welfare we receive is only 100 true martial coins. As for the peak that is ranked at the top, TSK, let me tell you, just the peak that Shuejianfeng is at, any outer sect disciple can get 1,000 true martial coins every month. What? Our peak gets 100 every month, and they get 1,000 every month? What kind of logic is this? The difference is 10 times. Xiaofan immediately cried out. Who asked us to be weak? Don't blame the heavens and blame others. There's no fairness in this world. Whoever's fist is bigger will get more benefits. I've already looked down on it. Ah Cho smiled helplessly. Alright, Xiaofan, cultivate well. As long as you're strong enough, you'll have plenty of opportunities to earn true martial coins in the future. Also, that booklet mainly introduces the basic knowledge of the physical body realm of martial Tao, as well as the general geographical situation of our world, the customs, the empire's sects. When you go back and have time, study it again. Ah Cho continued. The day after tomorrow, I'll bring you to the peak where the martial arts scriptures are stored to receive the viscera refining realm's breathing technique. You can also choose a martial skill. Martial skill? That's great. Until now, I only know the barbaric bullbone forging fist. It's said that it's only a basic body refining technique and not worth mentioning. Xiaofan said excitedly. Of course, any martial skill in the martial skill pavilion is many times better than the barbaric bullbone forging fist. Ah Cho nodded repeatedly. As they spoke, the two had already arrived at a vast area with birds chirping and fragrant flowers, green vines intertwining, and lush vegetation. Between the trees, they could see many houses with red walls and green tiles. Every house had a large courtyard, and it seemed to be even more luxurious than the rich families in the secular world. From time to time, there were sika deer, monkeys, antelopes, and other docile animals walking around in the forest, not afraid of humans. There was the fragrance of plants in the air, and Xiaofan felt refreshed just by taking a breath of the air. Not long after, Cho brought Xiaofan to a maple leaf forest. In the depths of the forest, there was a luxurious and spacious courtyard. Curved eaves, glazed tiles, and white stone steps. It actually gave off a feeling of splendor and splendor. Xiaofan's eyes widened. When he was a live target, he lived in a simple and crude stilt house, and he lived in groups. Compared to this courtyard in front of him, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. Xiaofan, this is the benefit of being an outer sect disciple. This courtyard belongs to you now. Quickly take out the key and open the door. Ah Cho patted Xiaofan's shoulder and said. He opened the door. What entered his eyes was a large garden and a small-scale martial training field. The garden took up a few acres, and the martial training field was also a few acres in size. There were pavilions everywhere, bamboo swayed, and water trickled. The air was enshrouded with an immortal aura. Xiaofan swallowed his saliva looking at it. Chapter 11. The room was extremely spacious, grand and comfortable. It was clean without a single speck of dust. A few elegant potted plants were placed on the windowsill, emitting a refreshing fragrance. The bed was huge. Not bad, Xiaofan plopped down on the bed, feeling the softness and indescribable comfort. Then, Xiaofan walked to the wardrobe and opened it. The wardrobe was filled with silver-white robes worn by the outer sect disciples of the Cloud Rain sect. There were large, medium and small sizes. Xiaofan took off his tattered clothes and changed into a fitting robe. This robe was weaved from silk and noble fabrics. It was light as if it was weightless, and it was very comfortable to wear. After changing his clothes, Xiaofan could no longer see the shadow of a live target. Instead, he showed some of the aura of a sect's martial arts disciple. Xiaofan sat back down on the bed, took out the booklet, and read it with great interest. Xiaofan was fascinated by it. The booklet said that the world Xiaofan was in was called the True Martial Continent. How big was the True Martial Continent? No one knew. This was a boundless and endless world. Vast and boundless. On the True Martial Continent, there were countless unknown regions with countless dangers and opportunities. In the center of the True Martial Continent, there were 5 regions. They were the East Region, West Region, South Region, North Region and Central Region. The booklet did not introduce the other regions and only talked about the South Region. That was because the Cloud Rain sect that Xiaofan was in was located in the South Region. There were 7 empires in the South Region and 27 medium-sized countries. As for the small countries, there were countless of them. No one had ever counted the total population of the South Region and it was impossible to do so. The Cloud Rain sect was in the Beacon Fire Empire, which was just one of the 7 empires in the South Region. Its population was over 10 billion. Apart from the Cloud Rain sect, there were 4 other top sects in the Beacon Fire Empire. They were 8 Wind Palace, Blazing Flame Sect, Mingjian Villa and Medicine King Valley. As for medium and small sects, there were too many of them. All in all, this was a world of martial artists where martial strength reigned supreme and the law of the jungle prevailed. The booklet even briefly described the demon race. The demon race was a race that coexisted with the human race since the beginning of the world. The demon race and the human race were natural enemies. This was because, the demon race viewed humans as prey. They survived by hunting for human brains. The most terrifying thing about demons was that they could disguise themselves as humans. When a member of the demon race sucked the brain of a human, it would possess the memories and thoughts of the human when they were alive. It could even inherit the skills of the human when they were alive. Then, he transformed into a human and mixed in with the human race, waiting for an opportunity to continue hunting. Seeing this, Xiaofan couldn't help but recall the last time he was in that small town. A demon had disguised herself as the mayor's daughter-in-law and blended into the town undetected. Even senior apprentice Brother Fong had to go through a lot of trouble to find and kill that demon. The demon race is too scary. Xiaofan felt his heart palpitate. However, Xiaofan quickly cast aside his negative emotions and continued reading. He began to read the martial arts described in the booklet. The martial way was divided into the physical body realm and the vital energy realm. Xiaofan read eagerly and gradually understood many things. Putting everything else aside, just the organs refinement stage of the fleshly body stage alone. This was the realm that Xiaofan was about to reach. It turned out that the organs refinement stage used a special breathing method and elixirs to refine the internal organs, eliminating the impurities and retaining the essence. When the organs refinement stage was cultivated to an extremely high level, the internal organs would be as hard as diamond and would be immune to all diseases. Their breathing would be deep and continuous, their stamina would be great, and their heart would beat like thunder. The body could even emit the sound of surging tides. The organs refinement stage was further divided into entry, small success, middle stage, and peak stage. These few stages. The entry stage was to learn the special breathing method of the organs refinement stage. This was very simple. Small accomplishment meant that one would be able to exert at least 5 cauldron of strength with every movement. One would be filled with energy and a casual roar could be clearly heard from a distance of 1.5 li. The middle stage would have at least 10 cauldron strength. Their voice could be transmitted 5 miles away. The peak stage would have at least 20 cauldron strength. Their voice could be transmitted 10 miles away. Their physical strength could tear a giant elephant apart. They could run like a leopard and fight against hundreds of enemies at the peak of the bone refinement stage. They could casually jump tens of feet high. They could even pluck leaves and flowers and kill people instantly. Amazing. Too amazing. Xiaofan was speechless as he watched. Because he had a fortuitous encounter and cultivated the indestructible golden body, he refined his bones very well. His bones could explode 200 times, so he was stronger than the majority of people at the peak of the bone refinement stage. His strength was around 5 to 6 cauldron. But now, he understood that his current strength was nothing in front of a martial artist at the peak of the organs refinement stage. Above the organs refinement stage is the marrow refinement stage and finally the blood transformation stage. That Xue Jianfeng is a top-notch outer sect disciple and he has already started the blood transformation stage. I wonder how terrifying his strength is. Moreover, he has cultivated an exquisite martial skill. Xiaofan licked his lips. It seems that the gap between me and him is very big. However, it wasn't easy for me, Xiaofan, to walk on the path of the martial Tao. I must overcome any difficulties. I must advance courageously and continuously cut down all the thorns. Xiaohan's will become even firmer and more stable. Continue reading. The booklet did not explain much about the true Qi stage. Xiaofan also didn't really understand what was going on. However, there was one point that was extremely useful to Xiaofan. When a martial artist cultivated the fleshly body realm to the true Qi stage, it was equivalent to transcending the mortal realm and ascending to the heavens in a single step. Their lifespan would be extended and they could even overcome natural phenomena such as aging. This was definitely not a trivial matter. Moreover, the true Qi stage allowed one to look within themselves. One could clearly see one's internal organs, bones, and meridians. It was like looking at the lines on one's palm, vivid in one's mind. Reading up to here, Xiaofan couldn't help but clutch his heart as he muttered to himself. There is a very strange thing hibernating in my heart. Although this thing helped me to restore and perfect the indestructible golden body, I still don't know what it is. I can't possibly let someone dissect my heart and study it, right? Therefore, I can only cultivate to the true Qi stage and be able to look within myself. Only then will I get the answer. I must cultivate to the true Qi stage as soon as possible. Otherwise, there will always be a strange feeling of my life and death being controlled by someone else. Xiaofan took a deep breath and closed the booklet. At this time, he heard a knock on the courtyard door and heard Ah Chow's loud and clear voice. Xiaofan, come out. I'll bring you to the canteen to eat. All right, Senior Ah Chow. I'll come out now. Xiaofan packed up his things, closed the door and left. At this moment, the sun had already set and it was dusk. Ah Chow brought Xiaofan out of this area and walked towards the canteen where the outer sect disciples of this mountain ate. Senior Ah Chow, I heard from the manager that you have already reached the peak of the viscera refinement. You can punch 20 cauldrons and your voice can travel 10 miles. You are very powerful. Xiaofan said emotionally. Hearing Xiaohan's praise, Chow grinned and laughed. Huh, Xiaofan, my mediocre cultivation is nothing at all. Peak of the viscera refinement realm is indeed rare in the secular world. But in the Cloud Rain sect, there are a bunch of them. Moreover, I am a very stupid person. My ability to comprehend martial skills is very slow and I don't have the talent of others. Xiaofan, I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. I can't even defeat some talented middle-stage viscera refinement realm outer sect disciples. I'm ashamed. Xiaofan paused for a moment before smiling and patting Ah Chow's shoulder. Senior Ah Chow, don't be discouraged. You might be the type that accumulates well. You're right. Ah Chow smiled. Alright, Xiaofan, we've reached the canteen. Let's go in and eat. Remember, pay attention to your demeanor and manners. Don't shout in the canteen. Xiaofan nodded. This canteen was built like a palace. It was like a tiger crouching and a dragon coiling. From afar, it emitted a strange aroma that made people drool. Xiaofan and Ah Cho walked into the canteen together. The canteen was very large. It was filled with tables and chairs made of precious deep-sea agarwood. At this moment, there were more than 1,000 outer sect disciples eating in the canteen, but it did not feel crowded at all. Xiaofan took a look. Those outer sect disciples were indeed very cultured. They did not make any noise while eating. Even when they conversed with each other, they all spoke softly. "Let's go, Xiaofan. Follow me." Ah Cho brought Xiaofan. The two of them each took an expensive jade plate and went to a shelf to choose food. This is similar to the buffet on Earth. Xiaofan's heart was slightly moved. The dishes were extremely sumptuous. There was black chicken soup, crystal pig trotters, steamed agate fish, braised snow leopard, all kinds of delicacies, and medicinal cuisine. When Xiaofan was a live target, how could he have eaten such delicacies? Ah! That's great! Xiaofan kept putting all kinds of delicacies on his plate. "Xiaofan, do you drink?" Ah Cho stood beside a shelf filled with pure brewed wine and asked Xiaofan with a smile. "Wine? Senior Ah Cho, the wine is also free?" Xiaofan quickly asked. "It's all free." Ah Cho nodded. "Then drink." "Why aren't you drinking?" "Senior Ah Cho, get more." Xiaofan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said. "Hee. Senior sister, look, that's the one who passed today's test and became the live target of the outer sect disciples." A beautiful female disciple standing not far from Xiaofan pulled another female disciple and pointed at Xiaofan. As expected, he doesn't have any manners. A servant will always be a servant. Another female disciple glanced at Xiaofan and immediately snorted. That beautiful female disciple covered her mouth and laughed softly. "Senior sister, look. Only that ugly Ah Cho is willing to be with that live target. Otherwise, who would care about that kind of servant?" Xiaofan didn't care so much. He carried his plate and found a seat with Ah Cho. At this moment, the outer sect disciples eating in the canteen all raised their eyes to look at Xiaofan. Then, they started to discuss in low voices. Their eyes were full of sarcasm and mockery. "Xiaofan, let's sit here." Ah Cho found a quiet seat with no one around and sat down with Xiaofan. Xiaofan immediately started to wolf down his food. "Xiaofan, eat slowly. Pay attention to manners, manners." Ah Cho quickly said. "Delicious, too delicious. I used to be a live target and ate vegetables every day. I've never eaten such delicacies." Xiaofan said vaguely as he chewed. On the other side of the canteen, a young man sat there calmly, with a dignified look on his face. He held a glass of wine in his hand and sipped on it. He looked at Xiaofan coldly, and his expression was unreadable. Below this young man, there were 3 other men sitting. One of them had a square face. His eyes were filled with resentment and hatred. He clenched his teeth and said to the young man who was drinking. "Senior brother Yanglei, it's that live target. A dog-like person. He actually beat up my cousin." Below him, another young man frowned and said. "Linghu Song, your cousin is Linghu Xian, right? He's one of the top figures among the inner sect disciples. At the age of 16, he was able to make 130 bone burst sounds. He can be considered a genius." "What, he was actually beaten up by a live target? Damn it!" Linghu Song pounded the table. His eyes looked like they were about to spit out fire. "My cousin is a young hero and a genius. At the age of 8, he trained his muscles and skin at the age of 13, made his bones explode at the age of 14, and made 130 bone burst sounds at the age of 16. He is the most outstanding talent in the history of our Linghu clan. In the future, he will definitely be outstanding and bring glory to our clan. I didn't expect that he would be crippled by that live target. Senior brother Yang Lei, we are all senior brother Ling Feiyu's trusted subordinates. We can do whatever we want on this peak. Don't stop me this time. I must kill that kid. Otherwise, I swear I'm not human. The drinking youth, Yang Lei, was obviously the leader of these people. He placed the wine cup on the table. Linghu Song, don't tell me you want to fight in the canteen. I'm warning you, don't break the sex rules. Linghu Song's expression stiffened. His face turned red. The veins on his forehead twitched and his teeth chattered. Senior brother Yang Lei, are we just going to let this matter go? That's impossible. That's enough. Linghu Song is just a puny live target. We can do whatever we want to him. Yang Lei rapped the table with his fingers. Then, he turned to another young man and said, Wu Yan, go and provoke that live target. But remember, don't make a move. It's best to set a time and teach him a lesson in the arena. Beat him to death or cripple him. All right, the eyes of the young man, Wu Yan, were filled with excitement. He stood up and patted Linghu Song's shoulder. Senior brother Linghu Song, don't be impatient. I'll go and get revenge for you. He's just a dog-like living target. Is he really worth getting angry over? Don't worry. As long as he dares to step into the arena, I'll break all his bones one by one. Ha ha ha. After he finished speaking, Wu Yan swaggered toward Xiaofan with his plate in his hand. The outer court disciples who were eating in all directions could see that something was wrong. They all whispered to each other as if they wanted to see the world in chaos. Xiaofan was drinking and enjoying the food. He was very happy. Suddenly, bang! A plate fell from the sky and smashed onto the table where Xiaofan and Ah Cho were sitting. Xiaofan immediately looked up and saw a sturdy young man looking at him with an arrogant and provocative face. Wu Yan, what are you doing? Ah Cho immediately shouted. This seat is mine. A puny thing doesn't have the right to sit here. Get lost. Wu Yan stared at Xiaofan. What seat is yours? Wu Yan, don't go too far. Ah Cho's voice contained anger, but his eyes were dodging. It was obvious that he was very afraid. He gave off a feeling of being strong on the outside but weak on the inside. Ah Cho, shut your mouth. Are you itching for a beating? Wu Yan glanced at Ah Cho with the corner of his eyes and was very disdainful. Then, he looked at Xiaofan again. His gaze was condescending as if he was looking at an ant-like thing. Live target. Didn't you hear what I said? Get lost. Chapter 12. Wu Yan looked at Xiaofan with a hideous smile. Why, live target, you're unhappy. Xiaofan was about to speak when Ah Cho pounced over and pulled Xiaofan back. He gave Xiaofan a look and said. All right. Wu Yan, you're great. We can't afford to offend you, so we'll give in to you, all right? Xiaofan, let's go. At this moment, the outer sect disciples in the canteen roared with laughter. Ha 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 ha, two useless things. You're so cowardly and you still want to cultivate? You're a disgrace to our Cloud Rain sect. A live target and an ugly freak. Do you still expect them to resist? That's all they can do. Scram with your tails between your legs. Ah Cho's eyes shone with resentment, but he endured it and urged Xiaofan to leave. Wu Yan crossed his arms and sneered. Listen, I'm asking you to scram, not to leave. Do you know what scram means? Shut up. Suddenly, Xiaofan roared. The entire cafeteria suddenly fell silent. All the outer disciples who were eating looked at Xiaofan in astonishment. What? This live target dared to talk back? Is he out of his mind? Wu Yan's face flushed red and veins popped on his forehead. He seemed to be angry from embarrassment. Live target, you dare to roar? You dare to roar? All of a sudden, rumbling sounds like muffled thunder could be heard from within Wu Yan's internal organs. His energy surged as he glared at Xiaofan, his killing intent shivering. Wu Yan, you want to fight in the canteen? You dare? Ah, Cho exclaimed. I was a live target in the past and had no dignity. But from now on, I'm an outer sect disciple and I also cultivate martial arts. With that, I have dignity. I've already sworn that if anyone dares to trample on my dignity, I'll fight them with my life. Xiaofan looked at Wu Yan coldly. The atmosphere was tense. What? A live target dares to talk about dignity? What dignity does a live target have? Some outer sect disciples found Xiaofan's words unbelievable. This live target does have some dignity. Having dignity is a good thing. But the prerequisite is to have strength. Without strength, there's no need to talk about strength of character. That's courting death. Good. Wu Yan laughed sinisterly. His eyes moved as he roared at Xiaofan. Live target, since you want to protect your so-called dignity, then do you dare to fight me in the arena? A decisive battle. If you don't dare, then don't talk about dignity. If you see me in the future, you'd better run away with your tail between your legs. Xiaofan, don't agree with him. He's goading you. Endure. Just bear with it and it will be over. As long as you don't agree to go up the stage, they won't dare to do anything to you. Ah Cho was terrified. Enter the ring? Okay. I promise you. Xiaofan ignored Ah Cho's advice and said directly. Alright. Gutsy. However, the ones who died the quickest were the ones with backbone. Ha ha ha. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow morning, Wu Yan said in a low voice as he laughed hoarsely. Live target, you're dead. At that moment, Yang Lei also walked over, followed by Linghu Song and another outer sect disciple. Yang Lei walked to Xiaofan's table and looked deeply at Xiaofan without saying a word. In an instant, Xiaofan felt an oppressive feeling like a mountain pouncing on him. Wu Yan, let's go, Yang Lei said indifferently. Live targets. Remember, I'll see you in the arena tomorrow morning. Wu Yan threw down a sentence and left with Yang Lei. Before Linghu Song left, he turned around and glared at Xiaofan fiercely. It was as if he wanted to cut Xiaofan into pieces and eat him alive. At that moment, the other outer sect disciples in the canteen looked at Xiaofan with their mouths agape. They never thought that Xiaofan would actually agree to fight with Wu Yan in the arena. Isn't this courting death? They originally thought that Xiaofan would be a coward. This live target is finished. He might be crippled by Wu Yan. Yes, Wu Yan's cultivation is nothing special. He's only in the middle stage of the viscera refinement realm. However, this live target is still in the bone refinement realm. The difference between the two is incomparable. That's right, there's a difference of an entire realm. There's no suspense in the outcome. And I heard that this live target relied on heavenly treasures to refine his bones and accidentally exploded his bones. That's why he entered the outer sect. He's like a nouveau riche. He doesn't have any foundation. What's the use of that? He's just a cripple. And he still dares to compete? Right, it seems that Yang Lei is also very unhappy with that live target. I think, even if this live target doesn't die tomorrow, he won't have a good life in the future. Xiaofan heaved a sigh of relief and pulled Ah Cho. Senior brother Ah Cho, I'm full. Let's go back. Sigh. Ah Cho let out a long sigh and left the canteen with Xiaofan. It's over, Xiaofan. This time it's over. After leaving the canteen, Cho wailed. Xiaofan, in front of so many outer disciples, you personally agreed to fight Wu Yan in the arena, so you can't go back on your word. Otherwise, you won't be able to lift your head up high in this mountain, and will forever be laughed at. Either you don't agree, or you have to fight. It's over. This time it's really over. Xiaofan, why can't you endure it? You just entered the outer sect, why do you want to compete? Senior brother Acho, this isn't about competing. When I was a live target, I was insulted and beaten up by the inner sect disciples every day. At that time, I swore that if I had the power one day, I wouldn't allow anyone to bully me or step on me. The taste of having my dignity trampled on is really not a good feeling. Senior brother Acho, dignity is something that can't be bought with 1,000 gold. I lost it once and I can't lose it a second time. Xiaofan licked his lips and said. Life is short, like a mayfly's dream. I don't want to be stifled. Oh. Hearing Xiaofan's words, Cho felt ashamed and immediately said worriedly. Xiaofan, that Wu Yan's cultivation is at the middle stage of the bone refinement realm. He has 10 cauldron strength and has cultivated a few martial skills. You are definitely not his match. What are you going to do now? Otherwise, when you go on the arena and see that the situation isn't good, just admit defeat, 10 cauldron strength? Xiaofan estimated in his heart. He had cultivated the indestructible golden body. Those top inner sect disciples all had 3 cauldron strength, and when they hit him, it was just like scratching an itch. Now that he was facing Wu Yan who had 10 cauldron strength, would he be able to resist a little? The indestructible golden body was the biggest trump card that Xiaofan could rely on right now. However, Xiaofan didn't intend to tell anyone about his cultivation of the indestructible golden body, including Cho. Thus, he squeezed out a smile and said. Senior brother Cho, don't worry about me. I will act according to the situation tomorrow. You have to know that if I were to endure and admit defeat this time, I won't be able to raise my head in this lifetime. My martial Tao must be to advance bravely and kill everything, not to retreat and be sullen. Sigh, Xiaofan. Cho shook his head helplessly. Xiaofan, that Wu Yan, Yang Lei, Ling Husong, and the others are all senior brother Ling Feiyu's followers. It won't be easy to clean up after offending them. Senior brother Ling Feiyu? Xiaofan was startled. Yes. Senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran are the most outstanding geniuses of our peak. They are worshipped by all the outer sect disciples of our peak. They are all experts in the blood transformation realm. With just a word, they can be promoted to inner sect disciples, Cho said with a bitter expression. However, recently, senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran have been training in the Jianghu. I don't know if they can open their meridians and guide true qi into their bodies. Xiaofan, in short, offending Wu Yan and Yang Lei is equivalent to offending senior brother Ling Feiyu. It's a calamity. Do you know why I fear Wu Yan so much? Wu Yan is nothing. He is in the middle stage of the viscera refinement realm, and his cultivation is lower than mine. I fear senior brother Yang Lei and senior brother Ling Feiyu. Yang Lei is also a little genius. He is in the marrow refinement realm. He doesn't attack, but once he does, he kills. He is a ruthless character. Alright. I don't fear so much. Xiaofan waved his hand. Willing to be cut into pieces, daring to pull the emperor down from his horse. Some things, the more you think about it, the more afraid you are. The more you think about it, the more you can't do anything. Why am I thinking so much? Senior brother Cho, I'll go back and rest first. I'll conserve my energy for tomorrow's battle. Xiaofan didn't want to listen to Cho's endless chatter. He immediately separated from him and returned to his courtyard. The moon was high in the sky. Xiaofan was in his courtyard's martial arts field. Bam! 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 The bones in Xiaofan's body exploded. His fists were like hammers, and his legs were like axes. He rapidly and violently practiced the barbaric bull bone forging fist. After practicing for a while, Xiaofan stopped moving and started practicing the 10 movements of the indestructible golden body. A warm current flowed through Xiaofan's body, nourishing his muscles and bones. Chapter 13. Good. Let's see how much potential the indestructible golden body has today. If I can't even deal with a viscera refinement realm middle stage person, how can I talk about killing Shui Jianfeng for revenge? Don't even think about it. Xiaofan put on his clothes and went to the garden. Not long after, Chou ran over and knocked on the door. Xiaofan opened the door and welcomed him in. Chou's eyes were bloodshot, obviously he didn't sleep well last night. Senior brother Chou, you don't look very well. Xiaofan smiled. I'm good my ass. I didn't even sleep last night. Chou kept shaking his head. Xiaofan, to tell you the truth, ever since my face was disfigured, all the outer sect disciples avoided me like snakes and scorpions, as if I was some kind of calamity. Not only that, they all laughed at me and hit me when I was down. But I can see that you don't look down on me in your heart. I finally have a friend like you, I don't want anything to happen to you. Oh. Senior brother Chou, your face wasn't like this originally. Xiaofan was puzzled. How could I be like this since birth? Xiaofan, let me tell you, I used to be very handsome and elegant, it's not an exaggeration to say that I was like a jade tree in the wind. Maybe the heavens were jealous of my handsomeness, so a disaster befell me and disfigured me. Never mind, let's not talk about this. Chou waved his hand. Handsome and elegant? Xiaofan laughed involuntarily. Alright, senior brother Chou, bring me to the arena now. You really want to go? Go. Why not? If I don't go, I'll be a coward. As they spoke, the two had already left the courtyard. Chou brought Xiaofan and walked towards the arena on this mountain peak. In the middle of this mountain peak, there was an area with dozens of arenas built with huge rocks. Each arena occupied an area of several acres. These arenas were prepared for the outer disciples of this peak to spar with each other, fight, and even settle personal grudges. Martial artists loved to fight fiercely, and sect disciples were even more so. Once on the arena, it was up to fate, regardless of life or death. At this moment, over 1,000 outer court disciples had gathered at the arena area, and they stood in groups of 3 to 5 while discussing ceaselessly with each other. Today, Wu Yan will be competing with that live target, Xiaofan. How interesting. What's so interesting? This was a completely one-sided situation. You could even say that it was a one-sided massacre by basalt. Since you think it's boring, why did you come here to watch? I mainly want to see how that live target dies. I wonder how many moves a live target can take. What do you mean by a few moves? I think it's an instant kill. One was in the bone refining realm and had never learned any martial techniques. The other was in the middle stage of the viscera refinement realm and had cultivated a martial technique. The gap between them was like the difference between heaven and earth. Beside an arena. With his hands behind his back, Yang Lei had an imposing manner and a mocking smile on his face. Wu Yan, Ling Hu Song, and a few other outer disciples clustered around Yang Lei. Among them, there were 2 female disciples who looked like they were carved from jade. They were laughing so hard that their bodies trembled. Wu Yan, you have to avenge my cousin brother, Ling Hu Xian, later. You must break every single bone in that live target. Ling Hu Song gnashed his teeth and said. Senior Ling Hu Song, don't worry. He's just a live target that had a fortuitous encounter. I can crush him to death with one finger. Wu Yan had a hideous smile on his face. We've already checked last night. That live target only has 3 cauldrons of strength. He's as weak as a sheep. He can't even break the defense of my fleshly body. He's a complete and utter trash. Just at this moment, he's here. That live target really came. He really dared to come. I'm starting to admire his courage. Amidst the clamor of the outer disciples, Xiaofan and Ah Cho walked over side by side. He, Wu Yan's expression was extremely hideous. It's good that you came. I was just afraid you wouldn't come. Live target, come up. Wu Yan leaped into the air and jumped onto an arena. His fleshly body tore through the air, and with a crackling sound, a raging wave of aura exploded out from his body. Senior Ah Cho, I'm going up the arena. You watch from below. Xiaofan patted Ah Cho's shoulder and walked up the arena. Ah Cho's expression looked as though he was about to cry, on the arena. Xiaofan and Wu Yan stood opposite each other with a distance of tens of steps between them. You will die a horrible death. Wu Yan's eyes were filled with bloodthirst and brutality. The corner of his mouth revealed a playful smile as though he was a cat toying with a mouse. The thousands of outer disciples who were spectating from below the arena were all staring at the arena. Bang! Suddenly, the bones in Xiaofan's body exploded like a mountain of explosives. The muscles, skin, and bones in his entire body surged. Under his skin, there was the sound of a strong arrow being shot. His muscles and bones sounded at the same time. Immediately after, Xiaofan's footsteps were heavy as he stomped back and forth on the arena, causing cracks to appear on the stone floor. He was like an enraged bull. Oh! This live target's muscles and bones are trained well. Barbaric Bull Bone Forging Fist has a very high level of attainment. What's the use of that? Barbaric Bull Bone Forging Fist is only the most superficial body refining technique. Wu Yan's most proficient technique is the Giant Python Fist. It is tricky and incisive. Once it strikes, it will break the opponent's arms and legs. It is more than a few times stronger than Barbaric Bull Bone Forging Fist. Trash! Wu Yan roared, and soon after, his internal organs began to vibrate, and faint sounds of wind and thunder could be heard. His mouth and nose exhaled a majestic breath, and his long roar shook the heavens. With a casual roar, his voice could be heard 5 kilometers away. Under his skin, there seemed to be a toad that was hibernating. It kept jumping and the sound of goo 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 was incessant. In the next moment, Wu Yan twisted his fists. His entire body emitted a kind of gloomy and cold aura. It made people feel that he was like a giant python that was creeping in the grass. He could drill out at any time to devour his prey. Giant Python Fist. Wu Yan roared. His footwork was extremely crafty. His body swayed left and right. A distance of tens of steps was covered in a flash. What? He's so fast. Xiaofan's eyes blurred. Wu Yan had already closed in on him. The wind tore and the air exploded. Wu Yan's right fist made a turn. Like a python coming out of its hole, it landed on Xiaofan's chest from an unbelievable angle. Pooh! This time, Wu Yan's fist opened 10 cauldrons. Xiaofan was sent flying in an instant. Bang! Xiaofan landed heavily on the ground, creating a human-shaped crater. Ah, pain! Xiaofan gritted his teeth and groaned. When Wu Yan's fist landed on Xiaofan's body, Xiaofan felt as if his chest was struck by lightning. The pain was unbearable. His throat felt hot and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. However, in an instant, a warm current surged in his body. The indestructible golden body automatically absorbed a portion of the strength of the fist. At the same time, a warm current enveloped the part of Xiaofan's body that was hit and nourished it. Xiaofan only felt that his bones were numb and starting to swell. In a few breaths, Xiaofan's pain had been reduced by half. His whole body was filled with strength and vigor. Below the stage, isn't this too weak? He was sent flying in just one move. He didn't even have the ability to resist. Boring, too boring. Wu Yan's fist has 10 cauldrons of strength. It can instantly kill a giant elephant. That live target must have all his bones broken and his life force extinguished. Xiaofan. Ah Cho cried out in terror from below the stage. On the other side, Yang Lei, Ling Husong and the others also laughed. Ha ha ha. Wu Yan laughed loudly. His face was ferocious as he walked towards Xiaofan. This daddy will slowly crush all your bones one by one. This is what I call satisfying. Unexpectedly, all of a sudden, Xiaofan used both his hands to support himself and slowly climbed up. He can actually stand up after taking a punch with 10 cauldrons of strength? The outer sect disciples below the stage were all stunned. Xiaofan, quickly admit defeat. Ah Cho screamed. Damn it. Xiaofan was angered. He stared at Wu Yan with eyes filled with killing intent. Step by step, he slowly walked towards Wu Yan. Between his muscles and bones, popping sounds could be heard. What? He can still stand up? Wu Yan clenched his teeth and moved his feet. Like a snake, he slithered in front of Xiaofan. With a backhand punch, he sent Xiaofan flying again. Bang! 10 cauldrons of strength was equivalent to 10,000 jin of strength. When it hit a person's body, the sound it made was simply hair-raising. This time, Xiaofan flew horizontally and drew an arc in the sky before crashing onto the ground. Cracks appeared all around him. He should be dead now, right? The outer sect disciples below the stage nodded their heads. Still not dead? If he doesn't die, then he's a monster. As for Xiaofan, it's too painful. I'm dying of pain, but after the pain, I actually feel a little refreshed. The heat in Xiaofan's body flowed endlessly as he activated his indestructible golden body to the extreme. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Xiaofan stood up again. Everyone was moved. Xiaofan being able to stand up after being knocked down for the first time was not enough to move people. At most, they were surprised. However, after being knocked down for the second time, he was still able to stand up. This made people unable to not be moved. Wu Yan, what are you playing at? Hurry up and beat him to death. Yang Lei shouted with extreme dissatisfaction. Immediately, his face was filled with anger. Wu Yan really doesn't have any real ability. Normally, he's only good at bootlicking. Against a living target, he's so sloppy. Humph. Xiaofan stood up and spat a mouthful of blood on the ground. His heart was filled with killing intent as he walked towards Wu Yan again. Roar. Wu Yan was thoroughly enraged. In front of thousands of outer sect disciples, he actually threw out 2 punches consecutively and still couldn't kill a living target. This made him completely lose face. Python 4 consecutive strikes. Wu Yan's aura was pushed to its peak. Like a thunderbolt, he rushed forward and threw out 4 punches consecutively. Each punch landed squarely on Xiaofan's body. Python 4 consecutive strikes was the ultimate killing technique of the giant python fist. When the 4 moves were used simultaneously, it specialized in breaking bones and shattering internal organs. If a martial artist of the same realm were to be hit by this punch, they would be torn into pieces. Bang! 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 Xiaofan took 4 punches consecutively and was sent flying 100 steps away. He fell to the edge of the arena and lay there motionlessly. The surroundings were dead silent. After 30 breaths. Phew, he's finally dead. Wu Yan let out a sigh of relief. He then looked at Yang Lei who was below the arena and wiped his sweat. Senior brother Yang Lei, fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. I've finally killed that living target. Unexpectedly, Yang Lei's expression changed drastically as he stared behind Wu Yan. Huh? Wu Yan instinctively turned around to look. He saw that Xiaofan had already crawled up from the ground. His clothes were torn to shreds, revealing his bruised and swollen chest. His hair was a mess, and the corners of his mouth were stained with blood. He could not stop coughing up blood. However, he did stand up and walk towards Wu Yan step by step. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness. "What's wrong? What's going on?" Wu Yan's hair stood on end as he suddenly had a bad premonition. One had to know that Wu Yan had once roamed the Jianghu. There was once when he met a martial artist at the peak of the viscera refining realm from a small sect. Wu Yan suddenly launched a sneak attack and used the Python 4 consecutive strikes to smash the opponent into a pile of mud. No matter what, he couldn't believe that a mere bone-tempering target would be able to escape unscathed in front of such a powerful killing technique. Roar! Wu Yan roared and rushed towards Xiaofan like a mountain. However, those who were observant could hear that Wu Yan's roar contained a trace of panic. Bang! 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 Wu Yan used both his hands and feet as if he had gone crazy. He continuously attacked Xiaofan, forcing Xiaofan to retreat step by step. This barrage of attacks had exhausted Wu Yan's stamina and his body was on the verge of collapsing. Xiaofan suffered over 100 punches before finally flying out and crashing heavily onto the ground. This time, the Iron Man has been smashed into pieces. It's impossible for him to stand up again. The outer sect disciples all stared with their eyes wide open. Ah Cho was scared silly. At this moment, Xiaofan only felt that there was not a single bone in his body that was in good condition. The pain pierced through his heart and his mind was blank. However, under the nourishment of the warm current in his body, the pain gradually faded. The warm current that flowed back like a tide caused Xiaofan's stamina and spirit to slowly recover. Huff, huff, huff. Wu Yan panted heavily and continuously wiped the sweat on his forehead. Wu Yan bent over to catch his breath while staring straight at Xiaofan. He saw Xiaofan lying motionlessly on the ground as if he was completely dead. After a long time, Wu Yan, go over and see if he's dead or not. Trash. Beating up a living target and you almost exhausted yourself to death. I've never seen such a useless piece of trash like you. Yang Lei was extremely angry. Senior brother Yang Lei, he's dead. He's definitely dead. If he's not dead after this, is he still human? A female disciple laughed tenderly. Wu Yan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and carefully walked towards Xiaofan. His legs were trembling as he walked. His stamina was almost completely exhausted. Step by step, he walked over and stared at Xiaofan who was lying motionlessly on the ground. Wu Yan could not help but say to himself. Dead, he's definitely dead. He's definitely dead. 10 steps, 8 steps, 5 steps, Wu Yan was almost in front of Xiaofan. At this moment. Damn it! I'm dying of pain. I'm going to kill you. Suddenly, Xiaofan who had been lying motionlessly on the ground suddenly jumped up and rushed in front of Wu Yan. His right fist punched out and the sound of thunder rumbled. With a bang, his fist landed solidly on Wu Yan's chest. Everything happened so suddenly and Wu Yan's stamina was severely exhausted. He actually did not manage to dodge this punch. Moreover, Xiaofan's strength was far more than 3 cauldrons. The sudden explosion instantly tore apart Wu Yan's physical defense and broke his tendons and bones. Bang! Wu Yan was sent flying by the attack. I'm going to kill you. Xiaofan spat out a mouthful of blood and rushed forward with a kick. You dare! Wu Yan crawled up from the ground and tried his best to dodge Xiaofan's kick. Then, his right fist struck out from an unbelievable angle. The route was tricky and it directly hit Xiaofan's heart. However, the strength of this punch was not even half of Wu Yan's usual strength. It was not even a third of Wu Yan's strength. Thus, Xiaofan was only slightly shaken by this punch. With a roar, he punched out with his right fist and hit Wu Yan's chest. Wu Yan was beaten back violently. With a puff sound, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Xiaofan did not let up and attacked at close range. Wu Yan also punched and kicked Xiaofan. In the blink of an eye, the two of them became like a street brawl. Both sides punched each other, kicked each other, and fought fiercely. This is completely reckless. The outer sect disciples below were all shocked. On the stage, Xiaofan completely ignored Wu Yan's punches and kicks. He could feel that Wu Yan's strength was getting weaker and was no longer a threat to him. On the other hand, Xiaofan became more energetic as he fought. He used both his hands and feet to attack Wu Yan. At this moment, Xiaofan was like the reincarnation of an evil dragon. He completely ignored his own defense and only wanted to punch and kick Wu Yan. Soon, Wu Yan's face was swollen like a pig. His eyes were dazed and his nose was bleeding. His teeth were broken. His punches and kicks began to slow down and he kept retreating. "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." Xiaofan grinned maliciously as he rained blows on Wu Yan's body. Soon, bang! Wu Yan was finally beaten to the ground by Xiaofan. Xiaofan simply sat on Wu Yan's body and punched Wu Yan's body like a drum. Puff! 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 The sound of bones breaking could be heard from Wu Yan's body. Everyone in the audience felt a chill down their spines. Was this live target still a human? It was truly a savage beast. Xiaofan punched over 100 times until there was not a single piece of flesh, skin, or bone in Wu Yan's body. Then, his body tilted and fell down. On the stage, the two of them laid on the ground, motionless. There was dead silence all around. No one spoke, and everyone even felt suffocated. After a long while, Linghu Song, "Go up and take a look at Wu Yan. Quick." Yang Lei's eyes twitched. Linghu Song jumped onto the stage and rushed to Wu Yan's side. He bent down to take a look and said in shock. "Senior brother Yang Lei, Wu Yan. Wu Yan is already dead, beaten into a pile of minced meat, so scary." At the same time, Cho also jumped onto the stage and said in a trembling voice with a sobbing tone. Xiaofan, how are you?" Cho bent down and shook Xiaofan lightly. Xiaohan's eyes were closed and he didn't even seem to be breathing. Linghu Song carried Wu Yan's mud-like corpse and glared at Cho. He jumped off the stage and walked to Yang Lei's side and said in a low voice. "Senior brother Yang Lei, that live target probably won't be able to live." The other outer sect disciples all had goosebumps and said, "Perishing together. It's actually perishing together. I really didn't expect that live target to be so ferocious." He was beaten down again and stood up again and finally perished together with Wu Yan. This guy is simply not human. Definitely not human. He's completely not human. At this moment, above the clouds in the sky, a sword light flashed past. On the sword light stood a cold-looking young man in hemp clothes with his hair tied up. He carried a sword on his back. His entire body was incomparably sharp and his spirit was bursting. At this moment, his face revealed a rare smile and said in a low voice. "Interesting, really interesting." Beside the young man with the sword on his back stood a young girl in green clothes. She was as white as jade and cute. Her aura was mellow and radiant. "Senior brother Fong, it's just a fight between two outer sect disciples. Why did you watch for so long? It's very boring, okay? That kid is really interesting." Senior brother Fong's face was full of smiles. "Who? Senior brother Fong, who do you think is interesting? That guy who can take a beating? He was beaten down again and stood up again and again. Senior brother Fong knows him? Yes, I met him once a few months ago. He's a live target. He's called something Han. Oh, right, he's called Xiaofan. That's right, he's called Xiaofan. Live target? Ha ha ha. Alright, Shui, I've brought some things back from the north region. Come to my mountain peak and pick a few things that you like. At this moment, on the arena. Xiaofan, Xiaofan. Cho kept calling out. You're already dead, why are you still calling like a ghost? An outer sect disciple was annoyed and immediately scolded. Just at this moment, senior brother Cho, please carry me back. I don't have any strength in my body. Xiaofan suddenly opened his eyes and said to Cho. As soon as Xiaofan said this, there was a deathly silence all around him. Chapter 14. What? Yang Lei also heard Xiaofan's words. His face immediately twisted and his eyes shot out a horrified expression. All the surrounding outer sect disciples instantly kept quiet out of fear. As if they saw a ghost. Cough, cough, cough. Senior brother Cho, please carry me back. Xiaofan whispered again. At this moment, Xiaofan's entire body was exhausted and his bones were about to crack. He couldn't even move a finger. If it wasn't for the warm current that kept rushing through Xiaofan's limbs and organs, Xiaofan would have already died. But now, his life was hanging by a thread. Okay, I will carry you back now. Cho reacted and quickly carried Xiaofan on his back and slowly walked down the stage. Excuse me, everyone, excuse me. Cho asked the surrounding outer sect disciples to make way. And those outer sect disciples almost subconsciously made way for Cho. Their eyes were fixed on Xiaofan, who was on Cho's back. Their throats were dry and they couldn't say a word. Until Cho carried Xiaofan and disappeared from everyone's sight, these outer sect disciples then woke up from the shock. No way. A bone refinement realm living target actually killed a viscera refinement realm middle stage martial artist, and he didn't die himself. It seems that this living target is very strange. One must know that he first suffered hundreds of heavy blows from Wu Yan. Wu Yan's stamina and endurance were completely worn out. Then, he suddenly attacked and killed Wu Yan. This living target is not brainless. This living target's fighting method is too tragic. It is completely exchanging life for life. Just thinking about it is scary. But, after suffering so many punches and kicks, I don't know if this living target can survive. Maybe he will die once he returns. Yes. I reckon all his bones and organs are shattered. Even if he is lucky enough to survive, he will be crippled. Humph. At this moment, Yang Lei was completely exasperated. His white and handsome face was as gloomy as water. He flicked his sleeve and left. Senior brother Yang Lei, what should we do? What should we do now? Ling Hu Song carried Wu Yan's corpse and followed closely behind. Shut up. Yang Lei shouted angrily. He paused and said. I don't believe that the live target is made of iron. Don't worry about him now. Ask around 3 to 5 days later. If he's still not dead, then think of a way to kill him. Senior apprentice brother Yang Lei, I think that live target is already at the end of its rope. Think about it, even though Wu Yan's cultivation was mediocre, he was still able to open 10 cauldrons with a single punch. That live target had taken hundreds of punches from Wu Yan, it would be unreasonable for him not to die. With such heavy injuries, even a true Qi realm expert might not be able to save him. Another outer disciple said hurriedly. Cho carefully carried Xiaofan back to the courtyard. Xiaofan lay flat on the bed, his eyes slightly closed. Xiaofan, lie down first, I'll go find healing pills for you immediately. Cho said hurriedly. Senior brother Cho, Xiaofan opened his eyes, I'm much better. I don't need medicinal pills. Go back and rest first. I'll lie down by myself for a while. Xiaofan, your injuries are so severe. All right, senior brother Ah Cho, go back first. Xiaofan interrupted Ah Cho's words. Ah Cho looked at Xiaofan with bulging eyes. Senior brother Ah Cho, don't worry, I'm fine. Xiaofan nodded slightly to Ah Cho, go back first. Saying so, Xiaofan closed his eyes. Then I'll go to the garden outside to sit for a while. Xiaofan, if you need anything, call me immediately. Ah Cho muttered for a while before slowly retreating. At this moment, the warm flow in Xiaofan's body was endless and was already automatically nourishing and healing Xiaofan's injuries. Moreover, Xiaofan felt that every time Wu Yan punched or kicked him, even though it was extremely painful, the indestructible golden body was able to absorb a portion of Wu Yan's punches and kicks, turning it into a warm flow and nourishing his bones. Furthermore, the attacks that Xiaofan received just now had refined and roasted Xiaofan's muscles, bones, skin and flesh, causing the impurities in Xiaofan's muscles and bones to be refined once again. Get rid of the weeds and retain the essence. A warm stream flowed within Xiaofan's body, repeatedly washing, causing Xiaofan to feel as if he was soaking in a hot spring. His body started to warm up, numb, making him feel extremely lazy and refreshed. Unknowingly, Xiaofan actually fell into a deep sleep. Not long after, Cho carefully sneaked in to take a look and found that Xiaofan had actually fallen asleep. His breathing was even and there was even a slight snoring sound. Ah Cho was dumbfounded like a clay statue as he murmured. Xiaofan's injury seemed to have indeed recovered a little. Isn't this guy too strong? 4 hours later, Xiaofan opened his eyes. At this moment, his breathing was smooth and mellow. He had also recovered some of his physical strength. When he slightly moved his hands and feet, it was not as painful as before. This indestructible golden body is indeed a unique divine technique. Xiaofan was overjoyed and immediately sat up. Xiaofan, you. Ah Cho just happened to run in to visit and saw Xiaofan sitting up by himself. His complexion was much rosier and his originally swollen cheeks had already subsided, leaving behind only some faint bruises. Ah Cho was completely dumbfounded and almost didn't dare to believe his own eyes. Senior Ah Cho, I'll have to trouble you to take care of me. I am fine now. Xiaofan smiled. It can't be, this is it. Xiaofan, you brat, you are simply a savage beast. I have never seen a person like you before. I have never even heard of you. Ah Cho spoke incoherently. All right. Senior Ah Cho, don't make a fuss about nothing. I used to be a live target and suffered vicious beatings every day. As a result, my skin is rough and my flesh is thick. I have developed the ability to endure beatings and recover faster than ordinary people. This is not a big deal. Xiaofan spoke without thinking. Immediately, Xiaofan changed the topic without batting an eyelid. That's right. Senior Ah Cho, will you bring me to choose a martial skill tomorrow? What? You still want to go to the martial skill pavilion to choose a martial skill? Your injuries are really fine now. Ah Cho swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Of course I have to choose a martial skill. Xiaofan said seriously. Today when I fought with that Wu Yan, I only knew the importance of martial skills. Wu Yan cultivated a fist technique. When he hit me, I couldn't dodge at all. That fist technique is too powerful. It's nothing much. It's just a python fist, an ordinary fist technique. Ah Cho said subconsciously. Then he added. Xiaofan, it's because you haven't learned any martial skills and only know the basic body refinement technique, Raging Bull Bone Forging Fist. That's why you were suppressed by Wu Yan's python fist. That's why I can't wait to choose a martial skill. Also, I have to start refining organs. I need to obtain the special breathing method for refining organs. Raising my strength is the most important thing. Xiaofan stuck out his tongue and licked the corner of his mouth. He knew in his heart that today's battle was won by luck. Under the attack of Wu Yan's python fist, he almost had no room to retaliate. If not for the indestructible golden body that exhausted Wu Yan's stamina, the final outcome would still be unknown. Wu Yan's strength was only 10 cauldrons. Xiaofan could barely withstand it with the indestructible golden body. However, he was severely injured on the spot and almost lost his life. If Wu Yan's strength was another 2 or 3 cauldrons, Xiaofan couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't be beaten to death on the spot. Damn it, this kind of fighting method, risking one's life for another. Now that I think about it, my heart still palpitates. Looks like I have to learn martial skills as soon as possible and refine my organs properly. I can't be so reckless anymore. Otherwise, I might be beaten to death. Xiaofan thought in his heart. That's true. Ah Cho looked at Xiaofan and said. Xiaofan, the number of outer sect disciples in Cloud Rain sect is huge. We can't possibly swarm to the martial skills pavilion, right? That's why the outer sect disciples of each peak are required to pick martial skills in batches. It's our peak's turn tomorrow. If you don't go to the martial skills pavilion tomorrow, it'll only be your turn next month. Then all the more I have to go. Xiaofan slapped his thigh excitedly. Alright, senior brother Ah Cho, you can go back now. Come and find me first thing in the morning. Ah Cho stayed for a while longer and only left after he was sure that Xiaofan's injuries were no longer serious. A few hours after Ah Cho left. Late at night. Under the bright moon, in the side courtyard's martial arts field. Xiaofan was shirtless and stood there without moving. At the next moment, bang! A loud sound burst out from Xiaofan's body. It was like the roar of an ancient beast, causing the clouds to move in all directions. Roar! Humph! Ha! Xiaofan began to cultivate the raging bull-bone forging fist in the martial arts field. He was like a dragon or a tiger, his bones exploded continuously like firecrackers. He stomped on the ground and moved around. His punches were like mountains and his legs were like layers of shadows, causing the air to explode. After a set of raging bull-bone forging fist, Xiaofan was as still as a mountain. The air behind him surged violently, causing sand and pebbles to fly and the wind to howl. Bang! The final sound of bone exploding was heard. I didn't expect that my bone forging realm has reached another level and actually reached 280 sounds. My strength has also increased again. Xiaofan's lips curled into a smile. 280 sounds of bone exploding. Xiaofan had been recuperating for a few hours and was now completely healed. Moreover, after today's fierce battle with Wu Yan, Xiaofan had actually benefited a lot from his injuries. His aura had become more stable. His muscles, bones, skin, and flesh were incomparably full and sturdy, as though they were forged from steel. Hee, that bastard Wu Yan's 10 cauldron of strength was like forging iron and steel. It hammered on my body and removed a portion of the impurities in my body, causing my physical body cultivation to improve by leaps and bounds again. I estimate that my physical body's strength is already close to 9 cauldrons. I am not any weaker than those viscera refining realm martial artists. Good, this is great. Under the moonlight, Xiaofan looked at his own body. The swollen wounds and bruises on his body had almost all healed, leaving only a few faint marks. His skin was as smooth as jade and his muscles were smooth. His entire body was filled with endless explosive power. And the warm flow that was produced from cultivating the indestructible golden body was surging and roaring in Xiaofan's body. It was filled with an indescribable vitality. P.S. A new week has begun. Seeking recommendation votes to rush the rankings. Chapter 15. Ah Cho quickly came to find Xiaofan. Senior brother Ah Cho, you're here. Xiaofan greeted with a smile. Are you really alright? Ah Cho asked dumbfoundedly. He could not help but pat Xiaofan's shoulder. But Ah Cho did not ask much. There were countless martial artists in Cloud Rain sect, who did not have their own secrets. It was taboo to get to the bottom of things. Yes, I'm fine. Senior brother Ah Cho, bring me to the martial skill pavilion now. Xiaofan rubbed his hands. Alright, I'll bring you there now. Coincidentally, I'm interested in a movement technique and have saved up for a few months. I can finally borrow it today. Ah Cho brought Xiaofan out of the courtyard. Senior brother Ah Cho, borrowing martial skill manuals requires true martial coins? Xiaofan asked curiously. Of course. Xiaofan, outer sect disciples only borrow it for free when choosing their first martial skill. From the second martial skill onwards, you have to spend true martial coins to borrow it. Ah Cho explained seriously. Today, I want to borrow a movement technique, wind riding steps. After mastering, one's speed will be as swift as a swan and is most suitable for saving one's life. But it requires 200 true martial coins, it's extremely expensive. So, Xiaofan, you must choose the first free martial skill well. You must choose the most suitable martial skill for yourself. Is that so? Xiaofan was speechless. That's why it's very rare for outer disciples to pass on the martial skills they cultivate to others. After all, they spent true martial coins to borrow it for cultivation. Why let others have it for free? Unless their relationship is especially strong, or both sides exchange martial skills. Ah Cho smiled. But Xiaofan, don't worry. We are good friends. I previously cultivated a giant wood palm. It's as heavy as a mountain and can crush organs. I can impart it to you privately. Oh, thank you senior brother Ah Cho. But I'll still go to the martial skill pavilion to take a look. There might be a more suitable martial skill for me. Xiaofan thanked. Xiaofan, the martial skill pavilion is on another mountain peak. I'll bring you there now. Ah Cho led the way. The two came to a large road and walked straight. At this moment, what? How is that possible? Did I just see a ghost? That live target. He actually did not die. Furthermore, he is swaggering through the streets. His injuries are all healed. In just one night, his injuries were completely healed. Was this guy really an indestructible Iron Man? Or is he the reincarnation of some fierce beast? That's right. It was that live target, Xiaofan. Look at how calm and composed he is, it's as if he's never been injured. Along the way, the outer court disciples all stopped to look at Xiaofan. They exclaimed in surprise, and their eyes were filled with shock and confusion. Xiaofan, you're famous now. In our mountain, you're completely famous. Ah Cho winked at Xiaofan. A martial artist in the middle stage of the viscera refining realm punched you hundreds of times, but he didn't die. Instead, he died because of you. Moreover, you only used one night to appear in front of so many outer court disciples, full of vigor and vitality. It would be hard for you not to become famous. I'm afraid it won't be long before your name will spread throughout the entire outer sect's 10 peaks. I don't care. Right now, I only want to focus on the martial Tao and cultivate properly. Xiaofan said indifferently. Yang Lei's side courtyard. Yang Lei was sitting in the garden, holding a cup of fragrant tea and carefully tasting it. His eyebrows were relaxed, and he was as steady as a mountain. Senior martial brother Yang Lei. Bad news. Bad news. Ling Hu Song rushed into the side courtyard in a daze and shouted repeatedly. His expression was extremely panicked. Ling Hu Song, why are you shouting so early in the morning? Yang Lei's expression changed, and he was extremely displeased. Senior Marshal Brother Yang Lei, that live target, that live target. Ling Hu Song stuttered. Dead? Yang Lei smiled and squinted his eyes. I'm sure he won't survive last night. It's good that he's dead. If he doesn't die, Wu Yan won't be able to rest in peace. Not dead. Senior Marshal Brother Yang Lei, he's not dead. Not only is he not dead, he's still wearing his clothes in broad daylight. Ling Hu Song stuck out his tongue and licked his dry lips while gesturing with his hands. Bang! The teacup in Yang Lei's hand fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. He suddenly stood up and pointed at Ling Hu Song while shouting angrily. Ling Hu Song, what nonsense are you talking about? Is there something wrong with your brain? He's injured like that, and he can still walk around in broad daylight? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? Senior Marshal Brother Yang Lei, why would I dare to lie to you? Countless outer sect disciples saw it with their own eyes this morning. That live target and Ah Cho walked towards the martial skill pavilion. The two of them were talking cheerfully along the way. They're extremely hateful. The corner of Ling Hu Song's mouth kept twitching. Senior Marshal Brother Yang Lei, I've always been loyal to you and Senior Marshal Brother Ling Feiyu. How would I dare to lie? Yang Lei looked at Ling Hu Song deeply and immediately said loudly. Prepare the horse. Immediately go to the martial skill pavilion. That live target is very strange. We must not let him choose his martial skills smoothly. Ah Cho was like an old horse that knew the way. He brought Xiaofan across the mountains and arrived at a verdant mountain peak that was lingering with mist. Halfway up the mountain, between the trees and leaves, a pagoda-like building could be seen with an antique charm. Xiaofan, that's the martial skill pavilion, Cho pointed to the pagoda-like building and said to Xiaofan. All right. We can finally choose our martial skills. Senior Marshal Brother Ah Cho, let's hurry up. Xiaofan said excitedly. Martial Skill Pavilion. This martial skill pavilion was specially for Cloud Rain sect's outer sect disciples and inner sect disciples to choose and borrow various martial skill manuals. True Qi realm martial artists would not choose their martial skills or cultivation methods here. The martial skill pavilion was in the shape of a pagoda and was 6 stories tall. There were countless martial skill manuals stored within. Body tempering manuals, movement techniques, fist techniques, palm techniques, leg techniques, sabers, spears, swords, halberds, there was everything. It was a huge treasure trove. At this moment, the outer sect disciples were entering the martial skill pavilion in an orderly manner with smiles on their faces. On the white jade square outside the martial skill pavilion, a green-robed old man with an eagle's eyes stood with his hands behind his back. At a glance, it was obvious that he was a top expert in the physical realm. Suddenly, a rouge horse galloped along the mountain path and entered the white jade square like a whirlwind. The passenger on the horse dismounted and said to the green-robed old man. Warden Leng. The green-robed old man smiled faintly. Yang Lei, you're here to borrow martial skill manuals again? Go on in then. I heard that Feiyu headed to the Dragon Scale Sea alone to comprehend the power of the sea. I wonder if he can break through the barrier and enter the supreme true Qi realm. Feiyu, this kid, is talented and a cut above the rest. He is stronger than many inner sect disciples. I have high hopes for him. Warden Leng, can I have a word with you? Yang Lei said in a low voice. Oh. Warden Leng looked at his expression and nodded. Follow me. The two of them entered the martial skill pavilion one after another. On the second floor of the martial skill pavilion, by a table by the window. A live target promoted to outer sect disciple for the first time. I've already heard of this, Warden Leng nodded to Yang Lei. You guys want to make use of this live target? Deacon Leng, that live target is about to come over and borrow the martial skills secret manual. Yang Lei took out a small brocade box from his bosom and calmly handed it over to Deacon Leng. What I mean is, a live target, a lowly thing. How can he cultivate martial skills? Yang Lei, you know the rules of the sect. Since the manager of your peak has allowed that live target to become an outer sect disciple and is registered, he has a status. Then I have no reason to make things difficult for him. I can't stop him from choosing martial skills, can I? You're putting me in a difficult position. I can't afford to be punished by the higher-ups. Warden Leng took the brocade box and gently opened it. In an instant, a rich medicinal fragrance assaulted their nostrils. In the brocade box, there was a ginseng as thick as a thumb. This ginseng had a strange shape and vaguely resembled a dragon. What? Azure Dragon Ginseng? Warden Leng's expression changed. This is a gift from senior brother Ling Feiyu. It's the best for consolidating one's foundation. I especially want to show my filial piety to you, Warden Leng. Yang Lei smiled. Warden Leng gently closed the brocade box and knocked on the table with his finger. A few breaths later, he slapped his forehead. All right, I'll help you this time. This is also giving Feiyu face. A live target doesn't know much. I'll just fool him a little. It's not a big deal. After saying that, Warden Leng bent down and took out an old and mottled parchment from under the table. This parchment was only the size of a palm. It was wrinkled and covered with a thick layer of dust. It had always been used as a footrest for tables. Warden Leng, this is? Yang Lei asked doubtfully. Warden Leng blew on the parchment, causing the dust to fly up. This parchment was obtained by a true Qi realm expert in our sect from an ancient ruin, and he offered it to the sect. However, after being appraised by countless experts in the sect, this parchment was indeed an antique from the ancient times. It was definitely not a martial skill manual or a treasure like a map. Later on, this parchment passed through many hands and was finally stored in this martial skill chamber. Initially, some outer sect disciples mistook it as a martial skill manual and borrowed it to study it. However, even a true Qi realm expert couldn't find anything after studying it. What could an outer sect disciple learn? Over time, this parchment became useless. I've been using it as a footrest for a few years now. Oh. Yang Lei carefully took the parchment with 2 fingers. Looking at it, he saw that the parchment was severely corroded. There were no words on it, but he could vaguely see a painting. However, the lines and contours of the painting had long been polished by the wind and frost of time. In the end, it was impossible to tell what the painting was. Since he's just a live target, he doesn't know anything. I came up with an excuse to give this parchment to him and let him study it carefully. I want to see if he can master a peerless martial skill. Warden Leng said with a smile. Not letting him choose a martial skill manual is against the rules. If the higher-ups find out, they'll punish me for neglecting my duties. Alright, I'll give him a peerless martial skill passed down from the ancient times. It'll be too easy for him. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Warden Leng's way of doing things is truly flawless. Ha ha ha. Good, good, I also want to see if that live target can study some peerless martial skill from this parchment. Ha ha ha. Yang Lei mocked and laughed. His heart finally felt carefree and he felt that he had finally vented out a breath of resentment. Just at this moment, Yang Lei glanced around and saw that Xiaofan and Ah Cho had already slowly walked over from the square below. That live target is indeed full of vitality and his injuries have completely healed. Damn it! Yang Lei's eyes emitted a sinister light and concealed killing intent. However, I always have a way to deal with you. If you provoke me, you'll be stuck between life and death. Warden Leng, that live target is here. Yang Lei pointed downwards. Alright, Yang Lei, you go back first. I'll personally go down and deal with him. Deacon Leng placed the brocade box and the parchment that Yang Lei had given him into his pocket and rose to his feet. Chapter 16. Xiaofan, this is the Martial Skill Pavilion. Ah Cho introduced. Xiaofan focused his eyes and saw that the Martial Skill Pavilion was 6 floors high. It was simple and grand, emitting a feeling of vicissitudes and civilization. He could not help but nod. Senior brother Ah Cho, this Martial Skill Pavilion must have countless godly martial skill manuals that have created generations of experts. Yes, the thousands of years of our Cloud Rain sect's foundation is inside. Let's go in. Ah Cho said. At this moment, an old man in a green robe walked out of the Martial Skill Pavilion. He had an eagle's eyes and an owl's face. Xiaofan, that's Deacon Leng, a mortal body transformation realm expert. He's the person in charge of this Martial Skill Pavilion. He has a high position and countless outer sect disciples and inner sect disciples have to suck up to him. Ah Cho lowered his voice and introduced to Xiaofan. Then, he was stunned. Deacon Leng, seems to be walking towards us. This, it can't be. Just as Ah Cho finished his sentence, Deacon Leng had already arrived in front of him and Xiaofan. Xiaofan immediately felt a sense of urgency as if a mountain was pressing down on him. You're Xiaofan? Deacon Leng twitched his lips and asked Xiaofan. His expression seemed to be amiable, but his eyes flashed with an undetectable ridicule. Yes, this disciple is Xiaofan. Xiaofan quickly nodded. He was bewildered. I heard from senior brother Ah Cho that this Deacon Leng is an incredible person. Why did he stop me and ask for my name? Ah Cho also stood at the side in confusion and did not dare to make a sound. Oh, Xiaofan, I know you. The person in charge of your peak has already informed me about you. You're here to pick a martial skill manual, right? Deacon Leng squinted his eyes and said. Yes. Xiaofan could only agree. Very good. Xiaofan, you're a very good young man. I have high hopes for you. Deacon Leng nodded continuously. From a living target, you rose through the ranks to become an outer sect disciple. It really wasn't easy. This kind of thing is not only rare in Cloud Rain sect, but also in the 5 major sects of Beacon Fire Empire. Therefore, I believe that you will surely achieve meteoric success in the future, and it might even be possible for you to cultivate to the true energy realm. Xiaofan felt as if he had fallen into a cloud of mist when he heard Administrator Leng's flattery. He was completely at a loss. After all, since Xiaofan entered the outer court, he'd suffered cold gazes, ridicule every single day, and he'd never received such reverence from Manager Leng. However, Xiaofan could sense the hypocrisy in Deacon Leng's words. What is this guy trying to do? Xiaofan was puzzled. That's why I'm going to personally explain to you the rules of choosing martial skills for outer sect disciples, Deacon Leng said seriously. After that, Deacon Leng glanced at Ah Cho from the corner of his eyes as he spoke indifferently. You're also here to borrow martial skill manuals? Yes, I came with junior brother Xiaofan. Ah Cho hurriedly said. Then go in yourself. Deacon Leng sent Ah Cho away. Deacon Leng, I will accompany junior brother Xiaofan in a moment. Ah Cho said with a smile. Deacon Leng's eyes flashed with fierceness as he stared at Ah Cho. You go in first. I'll personally receive Xiaofan and tell him some of the rules. Ah Cho's body trembled, and he didn't dare to disobey. He could only look at Xiaofan pitifully, and then walked into the martial skill pavilion alone. Xiaofan felt that things were getting stranger and stranger. Xiaofan, listen carefully. I'll tell you some of the rules of the martial skill pavilion now. Deacon Leng said solemnly. Deacon Leng, please speak. I'm listening. Xiaofan didn't say much. However, he was secretly guessing what kind of tricks Deacon Leng was playing. Xiaofan, the martial skill pavilion is divided into 6 levels. The books on the first floor are all the most basic techniques, such as Eagle Claw, Iron Cloak, Iron Palm, Praying Mantis Fist, White Tiger Fist, Gale Step, Rip Kick. These are the lowest level techniques. They are provided to disciples like you who have just entered the outer sect. You can choose them for free. The second level contains the more advanced martial skills, such as Anaconda Fist, Wind Riding Step, Willow Floating Flower Palm, Mad Demon Claw, Gold Shattering Finger Technique, Regretful Leg, etc. The martial skills on the second level have terrifying lethality and are ever-changing. One needs a certain foundation to cultivate them. Furthermore, true martial coins are required to choose and read the martial skills on the second level. The third level contains martial skill manuals related to weapons. There are various saber manuals, sword manuals, spear techniques, staff techniques. Our Cloud Rain sect has a rule that disciples must cultivate to the marrow refinement realm before they can use weapons. Weapons are extremely dangerous items. If one's cultivation is not high enough, he will suffer a backlash if he uses a weapon rashly, which is disadvantageous to him. As for the 4th, 5th and 6th level, your current level is not high enough. I won't tell you more. Deacon Leng said unhurriedly. Before Xiaofan could react, Deacon Leng changed the topic. Xiaofan, I think you're a talented, unpolished jade. You'll become someone great in the future and spread the name of our Cloud Rain sect. Therefore, I'm prepared to groom you privately. Deacon Leng took a step closer to Xiaofan and purposely lowered his voice. Outer sect disciples only have one chance to borrow martial skill manuals for free. Furthermore, you can only choose the most basic martial skills on the first level. Xiaofan, you're a prodigy. How can you waste your time on those low-leveled martial skills? Isn't that a waste of resources and a waste of your potential? Therefore, I've prepared an unparalleled mystical skill for you. As long as you comprehend it properly, your future will be limitless. It's not impossible for you to be invincible in the world. What? Unparalleled mystical skill? Invincible in the world? Xiaofan blurted out. He was so shocked that his hairs stood on end. There were too many tricks in Deacon Leng's words. Furthermore, when he thought about it carefully, Xiaofan could sense a deep mockery and teasing in his words. Xiaofan understood his own situation. How could he be a good talent or a beautiful jade? How could he be a prodigy? Furthermore, with an unparalleled mystical skill, would it even be his turn? Furthermore, this invincible in the world was too nonsensical. Deacon Leng, please don't make fun of me, Xiaofan cried out. Xiaofan was not a fool. At this moment, he had already guessed that there was some conspiracy in Deacon Leng's words. Alright, Xiaofan. Don't be humble. I'm quite good at judging people. Deacon Leng did not allow for any explanation. He took out a piece of rice paper from his pocket. There were a few diagrams and a few simple chants printed on the paper. Xiaofan, this is the organs refinement breathing technique of our Cloud Rain sect's outer sect disciples. Take it well. Follow these chants and diagrams and carry out the breathing technique to refine your organs. Then, consume pills like the organ refinement pill to officially step into the organs refinement realm and refine your body further. Oh. Xiaofan took the rubbing paper and put it in his arms. Immediately after, Deacon Leng whispered mysteriously. Xiaofan, I'll impart that unparalleled mystical skill to you right now. With that, Deacon Leng took out the palm-sized goatskin paper and stuffed it into Xiaofan's hands. Take it. This skill originates from the ancient times. Just a little bit of it will bring endless benefits. Xiaofan subconsciously took the goatskin paper. With just a glance, he was infuriated. The goatskin paper was wrinkled beyond recognition. It was filled with mottled dirt. There was even green mold growing on it, emitting an indescribable pungent smell. There were no words on the goatskin paper. There were only some lines and blurry outlines that had been corroded beyond recognition. Xiaofan instantly understood Deacon Ling's sinister intentions. It turned out that he did not want him to enter the martial skill pavilion to choose a martial skill. Hence, he used a piece of junk to fool him. Xiaofan suppressed his anger and said with a twitch of his lips. Deacon Ling, your disciple's aptitude is poor. I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to comprehend such an unparalleled mystical skill in my lifetime. Forget it. I'll just start cultivating from the lowest grade of martial skill. This disciple wants to lay a solid foundation. With that, Xiaofan was about to shove the goatskin paper back to Deacon Ling. Deacon Ling placed his hands behind his back and did not take the goatskin paper. His eyes revealed a hideous expression as he grinned. Xiaofan, you don't know how to appreciate my kindness. I have the intention to train you. How dare you treat my kindness as malicious intent? Deacon Ling stared deeply at Xiaofan. A mountain-like pressure immediately shrouded Xiaofan. Young man, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't make a mistake. Otherwise, I'll only need to say a few words to teach an outer disciple a lesson. Deacon Ling, are you trying to shove a piece of useless paper into my hands? Xiaofan clenched his fists tightly. His heart was filled with hatred. Isn't this against the rules? Xiaofan, many outer and inner disciples have borrowed this peerless martial skill. However, they were not able to comprehend it and were unable to comprehend the profoundness of the skill. I noticed that you have a good foundation, which is why I gave you the chance to comprehend the skill. Don't tell me you're trying to accuse me now. How dare you? You're completely going against your superiors. Xiaofan was immediately pinned with the label of insubordination. Right at this moment, Xiaohan's heart suddenly throbbed. The strange thing that had been dormant in Xiaohan's heart let out a crisp sound like an eggshell breaking. It emitted a mysterious feeling of breaking free from the shackles and removing the seal. Not long after, Xiaohan's heart started to beat and heavenly music could be heard. Strange phenomena, auspicious clouds, and heavenly flowers all gushed out from Xiaohan's heart. Xiaofan was shocked. He looked at Deacon Ling in horror. However, Deacon Ling seemed to be completely unaware of the strange phenomena that erupted from Xiaohan's heart. He only stared at Xiaofan with a hideous look. His eyes were filled with all kinds of evil tricks. He can't see or hear the strange phenomena coming from my heart. Xiaofan let out a long sigh of relief. At the next moment, the parchment in Xiaohan's hand glowed with a divine light. In an instant, countless divine talismans, rays of light, and dragons appeared and completely enveloped Xiaofan. The scene in front of him was exactly the same as when Xiaofan had inexplicably repaired the indestructible golden body in the stilt house. Xiaohan's eyes widened as he looked at the parchment in his hand. His lips were dry and his heart was in turmoil. Could it be, that this parchment is also a treasure? Shockingly, a few words appeared on the damaged and decayed piece of parchment, and they rippled with gorgeous light, glowed with divine radiance, and carried a powerful imposing aura. Son of Heaven's divine fist. Xiaofan. Deacon Ling snorted coldly and pulled Xiaofan back from his state of shock. Xiaofan subconsciously tucked the parchment into his bosom and hid it close to his body. The strange phenomena in front of him disappeared immediately. Have you thought it through? Are you going to comprehend this divine technique or not? Deacon Ling looked at Xiaofan with a gloomy expression and said in an overbearing manner. Xiaofan stuck out his tongue and licked his extremely dry lips. He forcefully suppressed the excitement and trembling in his heart. He then pretended to be distressed and sighed. Sigh. Deacon Ling, since you have the heart to nurture this disciple, then this disciple can only go back and concentrate on studying this divine technique. Ha ha ha. Deacon Ling laughed out loud. Good, good. Xiaofan, I did not misjudge you. You can go back now. Remember, cultivate well. Before you completely comprehend this divine technique, don't come back to the martial skill pavilion. Cultivating martial skills is more about quality than quantity. You must cultivate one martial skill to the great perfection realm before you can cultivate other martial skills. That's it. The doors of the martial skill pavilion will always be open to you. However, the prerequisite is that you have mastered this divine technique first. Good, good. Deacon Leng, when I have mastered this divine technique, I will definitely come and thank you for your guidance. Xiaofan said with a double meaning. At this moment, Cho had already come out from the martial skill pavilion. He walked to Xiaofan's side and looked at Deacon Leng before whispering to Xiaofan. Xiaofan, aren't you going to enter the martial skill pavilion to choose a martial skill? Oh. Senior brother Ah Cho, I have already chosen. Xiaofan said. You have chosen? Ah Cho was startled. Senior brother Ah Cho, let's go. Xiaofan immediately put his arm around Ah Cho's shoulder and turned to leave. Deacon Leng sent Xiaofan and Ah Cho off with a malicious gaze. The corner of his mouth hooked up and he laughed mockingly. Idiot. Go back and slowly practice. It's best if you practice until you are possessed by the devil. That will be the end of it. Yang Lei walked to Deacon Leng's side and laughed. Deacon Leng, thank you very much. Deacon Leng waved his hand and said. Forget it. It's just a live target. It's not worth mentioning at all. Halfway up the mountain, ha 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 ha. Xiaofan finally couldn't take it anymore and burst into laughter. Xiaofan, what are you laughing at? Ah Cho asked in surprise. What did Deacon Leng say to you? Nothing much. He just imparted an unparalleled divine technique to me. Xiaofan took out the parchment from his pocket and handed it to Ah Cho. Ah Cho took a look and his expression changed drastically. He slapped his thigh. Xiaofan. You were tricked. What kind of unparalleled divine technique is this? This was a piece of junk. I heard from some outer sect disciples that there is a piece of parchment in the martial skill pavilion. It is an ancient relic but it has no value at all. In the past, a large number of outer sect disciples and inner sect disciples spent a lot of true martial coins to borrow this piece of parchment to study. In the end, they didn't learn anything. Xiaofan, you were tricked. That Deacon Leng is deliberately making things difficult for you. I know. It must be Yang Lei's doing. Xiaofan took back the parchment from Ah Cho's hand and carefully placed it in his pocket. He licked his lips. Senior brother Ah Cho, from today onwards, I will properly cultivate martial Dao. One day, I, Xiaofan, will definitely make a name for myself. And, if I, Xiaofan, don't learn this unparalleled divine technique, I am not a human. Chapter 17. Son of Heaven's Divine Fist. It turns out that the lousy goatskin parchment that Deacon Leng gave me recorded a fist technique. Its name was Son of Heaven's Divine Fist. This name was domineering enough, not losing to the indestructible golden body. If the mystical aspects of this fist technique can be compared to the indestructible golden body, then my path of martial arts cultivation can be said to be grand and prosperous from now on. Alright, I'll concentrate on studying it when I get back. Xiaofan. How about I pass on the martial skills that I have cultivated to you in private? What do you think? Don't waste your time and energy studying that piece of goatskin paper. Ah Cho glanced at Xiaofan. Oh. Senior Ah Cho, I will not learn your martial skill for now. Xiaofan shook his hand and said. Right, senior brother Ah Cho, I've obtained the breathing technique to cultivate the viscera refinement stage. Now accompany me to buy some medicinal pills. I have to refine my internal organs properly. Then I'll bring you to the pill shop. After these few days of interaction, Cho had already gradually understood Xiaofan's temperament. He knew that although Xiaofan was young, he had a strong will. Once he decided on something, even 8 bulls could not pull him back. Therefore, no matter how hard he tried to persuade Xiaofan to give up studying that piece of parchment, Xiaofan would definitely ignore it. Xiaofan and Cho returned to their outer sect mountain peak. On the bustling street, Cho brought Xiaofan into a pill shop. The pill store was filled with the fragrance of medicine and rich spiritual energy. All kinds of pills were displayed on the shelves. It was a dazzling collection. The owner of the medicine shop was an amiable middle-aged fatty. He also recognized Cho. When he saw Cho bringing Xiaofan in, he hurriedly walked over with a smile. Cho, what medicinal pills are you going to purchase today? Oh. I don't have any true martial coins on hand. I won't buy any elixirs for the time being. Today, I brought my friend here to buy some pills. Boss Ma, my friend is about to enter the Viscera refinement realm and needs some medicinal pills for the Viscera refinement realm. Can you introduce some to him? Xiaofan politely smiled at Boss Ma. Boss Ma took out a piece of paper and passed it to Xiaofan. Young man, all the pills for Viscera refinement are on this piece of paper. Take a look yourself. Alright, Xiaofan took the piece of paper and looked at it. He was immediately stunned. Profound tortoise viscera nourishing pill. The main ingredient is the saliva of a 1,000-year-old tortoise. It consolidates the foundation and nourishes the internal organs. 200 true martial coins per pill. Flaming bull viscera refining pill. The main ingredient is the flaming bull viscera refining pill. It's a top-grade medicinal pill for the viscera refining realm, 1,000 true martial coins per pill. The 7 Revolution Viscera Refinement Pill was refined from 49 types of top-grade medicinal herbs. After a Viscera Refinement realm martial artist consumed it, their internal organs would experience 7 layers of impact. The impurities would be removed, and the impurities would be cleansed. It was extremely effective. 2,000 true martial coins for one. Isn't this too expensive? Xiaofan couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Finally, he saw a small line of words at the bottom of the paper, Basic Viscera Refinement Pill. Bezoar, tiger bone marrow, bear gallbladder, crimson pearl grass, wood butterfly, and other materials are mixed and refined. The basic medicinal pill for Viscera Refinement realm martial artists has average effects. 50 true martial coins for one. Xiaofan only had 100 true martial coins. Therefore, it seemed that he could only buy this basic Viscera Refinement pill. Without saying any more nonsense, Xiaofan took out his entire wealth. 100 true martial coins, and took away 2 basic Viscera Refinement pills. Xiaofan and Cho left the medicinal pill store. Looking at the 2 Longan-sized, earthy yellow basic Viscera Refinement pills in his hands, Xiaofan helplessly smiled bitterly. Senior brother Cho, medicinal pills are really expensive. It's completely burning money. That's right. Cho nodded in deep thought. Xiaofan, since ancient times, the poor are scholars while the rich are martial artists. Cultivating the martial Tao, talent is indeed very important, but wealth and resources are equally important. The cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. Look at me. I've been an outer sect disciple for 5 years, but I've never accumulated much true martial coins in my pocket. I'm so poor. I'm most envious of those rich fellows who eat medicinal pills like candy. They don't need to put in much effort and their cultivation will soar. Of course, external power is still external power. Endless resources can create ordinary experts, but it's hard to reach higher realms. The 2 returned to the outer sect disciple residential area. Xiaofan and Cho returned to their own courtyards. As soon as they returned to their courtyards, Xiaofan anxiously closed the door and locked it. He then rushed into the room, sat on the edge of the bed, and took out the tattered parchment. Puff puff puff, the strange thing in Xiaofan's heart throbbed again. Rays of divine talismans and rays of light spread out. Rays of light reflected off the parchment and wandered around the room. Fish and dragons danced in the air. Xiaofan was dazzled, as if he was in a dream. Not long later, wang 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 wang, endless rays of light and divine light weaved into a cocoon of light. It was different from the 100 cocoons of the indestructible golden body. This time, there were only 7 cocoons of light floating in the air. The 7 cocoons of light lined up in a row. Son of Heaven's godly fist, the 4 majestic golden words floated in the air. This Son of Heaven's godly fist only has 7 moves. Xiaofan's mind lit up. At this moment, poof! With a loud explosion, the first cocoon of light exploded. Endless rays of light weaved back and forth like swimming fish. A few pictures and a few lines of simple words immediately appeared. Xiaofan focused his mind and carefully observed the first picture and the words below. Son of Heaven's godly fist starting move. Bone burst style. The first picture was very simple. It was only a naked man with a transparent body. There was a simple drawing of human bones and some lines. Xiaofan carefully read the words below the picture. After reading it, he was shocked. This Son of Heaven's godly fist starting move, bone burst style, is a completely different path. It uses a special method to make the bones of a martial artist explode as one. For example, if a martial artist with 100 sounds of bones exploding, after practicing the bone burst style, the 100 sounds of bones exploding will be combined into one, and the 100 sounds will become one. The aura of a martial artist with 150 sounds of bones exploding will be combined into one after practicing the bone burst style, and all the bones in his body will explode at once. One should know that a martial artist at the bone refining realm had a strong body. Every time his bones explode, it would be like thunder. However, the sound of bones exploding could only be heard continuously. If all the bones exploded into one, how powerful would the aura be? How powerful would the sound of bones exploding be? Xiaofan's bones exploded 280 times. If they were combined into one sound, it would be able to directly kill an ordinary person. Even a martial artist at the skin refining realm would be knocked unconscious. However, this bone burst style was not only powerful, it could also instantly condense the power of a martial artist at a single point. Breaking through the surface with a single point. Just an ordinary starting move is already so terrifying. It is completely suppressing people with its aura. How powerful would it be if one truly practiced the Son of Heaven's godly fist? Wouldn't that be killing in all directions? Xiaofan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and hurriedly looked at the second picture. The second picture was the appearance of a great figure. He wore a crown on his head and a bright yellow dragon robe. On the robe were embroidered patterns of a 5-clawed golden dragon, a country, and a dragon soaring in the sea. Above his head, there were 9 layers of imperial canopies and 5-colored clouds. His facial features were not very clear, but his eyes carried the dignified aura of a god. His entire being emitted an aura of a king that could shake the world and swallow the 4 seas. His evil and handsome face seemed to contain a trace of a wanton and unrestrained smile. Just a picture alone made Xiaofan feel suffocated. Palpitations. Fear. So much so that it made one have the urge to crawl down and kowtow. Xiaofan wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. His heart moved. Who is the figure in this picture? Could it be the Emperor? Son of Heaven? Right, it must be the Son of Heaven. That's why this fist technique is called Son of Heaven's godly fist. The more Xiaofan looked at the Emperor picture, the more he felt that he was extremely small. Even his spirit, energy, and spirit were firmly suppressed. Xiaofan did not dare to look for too long and hurriedly looked away. Beside the emperor picture, there was another picture. It was a human figure making a move. The human figure clenched its fists and punched out a simple punch. This punch seemed to have no profundities or changes. It was a straight punch. Below this picture, there was a simple text: Son of Heaven's Divine Fist, first form Sovereign's Descent. First comprehend force, then practice this move. What? This simple picture is the first form of Son of Heaven's Divine Fist, Sovereign's Descent? Isn't this move too simple? There isn't even the slightest change or twist. It's just a punch. Xiaofan's brows deeply furrowed. Out of the 7 light cocoons, only one exploded. It evolved into 3 pictures: the starting form, Bone Burst Style, an Emperor picture, and the first form of Son of Heaven's Divine Fist, Sovereign's Descent. The remaining 6 light cocoons did not explode. Instead, they quickly faded and disappeared. Comprehend force first. What force do I need to comprehend? Also, what exactly is force? Xiaofan was confused. After thinking for a long time, Xiaofan still could not understand. He might as well keep the goatskin paper close to his body and walked into the garden. In the garden, Xiaofan sat cross-legged and emptied his mind. Occasionally, there would be an explosion in his body. All the bones in my body explode, merge into one. Xiaofan carefully analyzed the essence of Son of Heaven's Divine Fist starting form, Bone Burst Style. Evening. Cho came over to call Xiaofan to the canteen to eat. Xiaofan was cultivating Bone Burst Style and did not want to stop, so he asked Cho to help him bring food back. Late at night, bang. 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 Xiaofan's body exploded with thunderous sounds of bones exploding, causing the leaves in the garden to rustle and fall. I can now compress 280 sounds of bones exploding into 140. Every explosion is filled with tearing power and aggressiveness. But, it is far from enough. I need 280 sounds to merge into one to be considered to have perfected Bone Burst Style. Xiaofan stood up and returned to his room to rest. He saw that the garden was filled with fallen leaves and flower petals. If one were to look closely, they would see hair-like cracks on the ground. The second day, Cho came to ask Xiaofan to eat at the canteen at noon and at night, but was rejected by Xiaofan. Cho could only go to the canteen to eat, and when he came back, he brought back delicious food for Xiaofan. 5 days later. Late at night. Xiaofan stood in the garden, motionless. He closed his eyes slightly. Everything was silent. Suddenly. Bang! A loud sound came from Xiaofan's body. This loud sound was like the wrath of the heavens, and a disaster descended. The wind and clouds changed color. All living beings prostrated themselves. The entire garden seemed to tremble. On the cobblestone path in the garden, the pebbles bounced up like bullets and smashed in all directions. Water splashed in the pond, splashing everywhere. The plants in the garden seemed to have been blown by a hurricane, and they rustled and cried out, leaves and petals fell to the ground. Pooh! 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 Dozens of crows perched on the trees in the garden fell to the ground, motionless. It was obvious that they had been shaken to death. A few field mice seemed to be drunk, and they swayed as they crawled out of their holes. Then, their bodies slanted, and they lay on the ground, twitching. Yes, I trained hard these few days without sleep or rest, and finally mastered the Son of Heaven's Divine Fist starting stance, Bone Burst Style. 280 sounds of bones exploding into one sound, it is no small matter. A cold and sharp glint flashed across Xiaofan's eyes. Soon after, he lazily stretched his waist. I should have a good rest. These few days of training have been very tiring. Chapter 18. For the past few days, Xiaofan had been in seclusion to practice the Bone Burst Style. He was almost isolated from the world and felt a little bored. Now that he had mastered the bone burst style, he felt a little relaxed and prepared to go out for a walk. The sunlight was soft as it wandered around Xiaofan's body, making him feel very comfortable. When he arrived at Ah Chou's courtyard, he called Ah Chou out and the two walked side by side to the canteen. "Xiaofan, you're not going to cultivate today?" Ah Chou looked at Xiaofan with a strange expression. Previously, Xiaofan locked himself in the courtyard and cultivated without leaving the house. His meals were all taken care of by Ah Chou. Ah Chou knew that Xiaofan was studying that piece of goatskin paper that could not possibly be studied, and was worried that Xiaofan would have a problem with it, and lose his mind and go mad, so he asked probingly. "Oh, Senior Ah Chou, I'm just going out for a walk and have lunch at the canteen. I'll go back to cultivate in the afternoon." Xiaofan smiled. "That. Xiaofan, I think you shouldn't study that piece of parchment." Ah Chou rubbed his hands and said. "These few days, I heard some outer sect disciples talking about it. As a matter of fact, as I expected, it seems like Yang Lei went to look for Deacon Leng in private. Then, Deacon Leng personally came out to swindle you. He forcefully shoved that lousy thing into your hands. That really isn't a martial skill manual. It's a scam." "Yang Lei?" Xiaofan frowned. "Yes, Senior Ah Chou, I know. This guy has schemed against me time and time again. I will remember him. Sooner or later, he will fall into my hands. At that time, I will teach him a lesson and let him know how powerful I am." Hearing Xiaofan's words, Ah Chou was shocked. He felt that Xiaofan had an indescribable domineering aura today. Ah Chou said in a low voice. "Xiaofan, Yang Lei is a marrow refining realm expert. His every move has dozens of cauldrons of strength. He can tear a savage beast apart with his bare hands. He is not someone a rookie like Wu Yan can compare to. Xiaofan, don't be reckless." After saying that, Chou quickly observed Xiaofan's expression. He thought to himself, did Xiaofan really cultivate until his brain went haywire? He didn't even put Yang Lei in his eyes now. Xiaofan didn't say much and just smiled. This made Ah Chou feel that Xiaofan was even more unfathomable. The two of them arrived at the canteen. Over 1,000 outer sect disciples were eating in the cafeteria. After seeing Xiaofan and Ah Chou, they couldn't help but raise their eyes to observe, and then started discussing in low voices. "Look, the live target has finally appeared. This guy seems to have disappeared for a few days. I thought he was afraid of Yang Lei and went into hiding. I didn't expect him to show up in the cafeteria. All right, stop calling me a living target." Since Xiaofan was able to kill Wu Yan, who was of a higher cultivation level, and even displayed a physique that was similar to that of a savage beast, he must have his own trump card. "I'm not a pushover. This Xiaofan really can't beat Yang Lei and the others. Let me tell you, a few days ago, when Xiaofan went to the martial skill pavilion to choose a martial skill, guess what happened? Deacon Leng personally showed up and shoved the tattered parchment into Xiaofan's hands. He even told Xiaofan that he was not allowed to enter the martial skill pavilion until he understood the contents of the parchment. This was tantamount to forbidding Xiaofan from cultivating martial arts, thoroughly making things difficult for him. All of this was secretly arranged by Yang Lei. In the end, Xiaofan still obediently took the tattered parchment and left. He doesn't dare to go against Deacon Leng at all. What? That tattered parchment that was used to pad the table? Xiaofan, this guy, couldn't have disappeared for a few days to comprehend that tattered parchment in closed-door cultivation, right? I'm dying of laughter. Xiaofan was unmoved by the discussions that came from all directions. He and Ah Chou took their plates and found a seat. Xiaofan wolfed down his food. As his fleshly body became stronger, Xiaofan's appetite grew bigger and bigger. Xiaofan spoke in a muffled voice as he ate. Right, senior brother Ah Cho, do you know about force? Cultivating martial arts, does one have to comprehend something called force? In these few days, although Xiaofan had mastered the bone explosion style, he was still unable to grasp the first style of the Son of Heaven's divine fist, sovereign descent, after studying it for half a day. To master the sovereign descent, one must first comprehend force. What is force? How do you comprehend force? After all, Xiaofan was a living target and had insufficient knowledge. Oh. Xiaofan, you know force as well. Ah Cho put down his chopsticks and looked at Xiaofan in puzzlement. Senior brother Ah Cho, looks like you know the meaning of force. Quickly tell me. Xiaofan looked at Ah Cho's expression and felt that Ah Cho should have some understanding of force. He hurriedly put down his chopsticks and asked anxiously. Xiaofan, the so-called force is very mysterious. It can only be understood and not explained. Simply put, force is related to a martial artist's comprehension ability. Ah Cho began to explain without stopping. The meaning of force is the force of heaven and earth, the force of all things. Some cultivation techniques contain this kind of force. In other words, force can actually be understood as concept. To cultivate a martial art to the peak perfection stage, one must comprehend force. One cannot only pursue variations in moves. Xiaofan, my comprehension ability is also very poor. When cultivating martial arts, I am never able to comprehend force. This way, I am unable to learn the essence of martial arts. So, I told you before, don't think that I am at the peak stage of the viscera refinement realm. I can't even defeat some of the more talented middle stage viscera refinement realm martial artists. Xiaofan pondered over Ah Cho's words. His heart suddenly caught onto a very obscure thing, and his eyes burst with radiance. Senior brother Ah Cho, continue speaking. Continue speaking. I seem to understand a little. Xiaofan, I actually don't really understand. Then let me give you a few examples. Ah Cho racked his brains and pondered for tens of breaths before speaking. You fought with Wu Yan before. Wu Yan cultivates the python fist. The variations, moves, force exertion, and various techniques of this fist art were all cultivated by Wu Yan to a very proficient level. But in Wu Yan's hands, the might of this fist art could at most be displayed by 30%. Because Wu Yan did not comprehend the python fist's force. That is the concept contained in the python fist. The concept of the python fist should be the habits of the giant python. The instant when the giant python attacks its prey, it is savage, swift, and precise. A fatal strike. Also, our peak's two great geniuses, senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran, are both heaven-bestowed prodigies who have comprehended their own force. Senior brother Ling Feiyu cultivates the ocean whale divine fist, and thus, he needs to comprehend the ocean force and giant whale force. I have personally seen senior brother Ling Feiyu fight with the outer sect disciples of the other peaks. Senior brother Ling Feiyu's ocean whale divine fist has a vast and profound concept. It is as vast and deep as the ocean and as ruthless and dangerous as a giant whale. When fighting with senior brother Ling Feiyu, it is like fighting for supremacy in the ocean. It is boundless, and it will be annihilated in an instant. Senior brother Meng Ran cultivates the hurricane art. Once he makes a move, the entire heaven and earth will be filled with howling gales, and the clouds will change color. That kind of great force felt as though it would instantly tear a person apart and cause a mental breakdown. It is extremely terrifying. Both of them can display the might of their martial skills to the extreme. From skill to force. Xiaofan, if you have the chance to personally see the extraordinary figures like senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran make their moves, I believe you will be able to understand force more directly. Sigh, my innate talent is too poor, and I can't touch the edge of force. This thing is formless and intangible, and it can only be chanced upon. It is difficult, too difficult. Ah Cho shook his head and sighed. Xiaofan's eyes became brighter and brighter, and his heart tightened. He slightly closed his eyes and muttered. Senior brother Ah Cho, I really seem to have grasped something. In the next moment, Xiaofan let out a long breath and opened his eyes to speak to Ah Cho. Senior brother Ah Cho, thank you for telling me all these today. Just as Xiaofan finished speaking, a few people walked into the dining hall from outside. The one in the lead had a cold and arrogant expression, and he looked down on everyone. Who else could it be but Yang Lei? Behind Yang Lei was Linghu Song and a few other outer sect disciples. Humph. After Yang Lei saw Xiaofan, he let out a cold snort, and his eyes were filled with killing intent, while Linghu Song gritted his teeth and glared at Xiaofan. His murderous aura burst out, and he almost wanted to rush over and kill Xiaofan. Yang Lei and the others sat down. Xiaofan. Yang Lei. Yang Lei and Linghu Song are here, why don't we quickly leave after eating? Ah Cho said fearfully. It's fine. Xiaofan didn't care, they also don't dare to make a move in the dining hall, why should we be afraid of them? Finished speaking, Xiaofan acted as if nothing happened and buried his head in his food. On Yang Lei's side. Senior brother Yang Lei, it's Xiaofan. That live target. Linghu Song stared at Xiaofan with deep hatred. Linghu Song, don't act rashly. Yang Lei sneered. This live target, we will slowly beat him, and there will be a day when he dies. These few days, he didn't leave the house at all, and even his food was prepared by Ah Cho. I think he is painstakingly studying the exceptional divine art on that piece of parchment. Humph. Cultivate, it's best if you cultivate until you become an idiot. Senior brother Yang Lei, you don't know, after this live target crippled my cousin Linghu Xian, a few elders of the Linghu clan vomited 3 liters of blood on the spot and were extremely angry. This live target must die. Even tearing his body into 10,000 pieces is not enough to vent our anger. Linghu Song was almost roaring. Not long after, Xiaofan and Ah Cho were already full. The two of them immediately stood up. Then prepared to leave the dining hall. However, because Xiaofan and Ah Cho sat in a straight line with where Yang Lei, Linghu Song and the others sat. If Xiaofan and Ah Cho didn't take a detour and wanted to directly walk to the exit of the dining hall, they would definitely have to pass by where Yang Lei and the others sat. Xiaofan patted his stomach and walked away. Ah Cho hurriedly pulled Xiaofan and said in a low voice. Xiaofan, let's go to the other side, go around Yang Lei and the others. Xiaofan laughed involuntarily. Senior brother Ah Cho, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Finished speaking, Xiaofan didn't care about anything else and walked straight to the exit of the dining hall. He didn't know why, but after cultivating the Son of Heaven's divine fist, Xiaofan felt that his aura seemed to have quietly changed. All in all, his courage was much stronger than before. Seeing this, Ah Cho sighed inwardly, but still followed behind Xiaofan. When Yang Lei saw Xiaofan walking towards him without any hesitation, he felt that he was being provoked. He immediately looked at Xiaofan coldly, his eyes filled with a sharp warning. Xiaofan completely ignored Yang Lei's threatening gaze. The corner of his mouth pulled into a light and breezy smile. His eyes were as calm as an ancient well, and he was about to pass by where Yang Lei sat. The outer sect disciples who were eating in all directions all put down their cups and chopsticks and looked up to watch a good show. Just at this moment, wait. Linghu Song slammed the wine cup in his hand on the table and stood up, blocking Xiaofan's path. His eyes were ferocious, his face was almost twisted, and his chest had already been completely ignited by the flames of hatred. Little bastard, you want to go over from here? Then crawl under my crotch. Linghu Song roared and spread his legs wide. Oh. Xiaofan's body froze. Cloud Rain sect had its rules that disciples were not allowed to fight in private, otherwise, they would be punished with death. However, a wily old fox like Ling Husong could still think of ways to circumvent the rules. Move. Xiaofan looked at Ling Husong indifferently. Ling Husong pointed at Xiaofan. Crawl under my crotch, or go around me. There's no third possibility. Live target. Little bastard. Yang Lei did not say anything. He merely held his wine cup and drank the fine wine in it with great elegance. Little bastard. Xiaofan's eyes turned cold. I've said it before, no one can trample on my dignity. You damned dog, you insulted me time and time again. Now, you're blocking my path. I want you to kneel down and apologize. The moment he said that, the entire canteen fell silent. Kneel down? Xiaofan actually wanted Ling Husong to kneel down. That was simply insane. A bone refinement realm martial artist wanted a viscera refinement realm martial artist to kneel down? Moreover, Ling Husong was not an ordinary viscera refinement realm martial artist. To put it bluntly, he was Yang Lei's personal lackey. In fact, he could even speak in front of a transcendent genius like Ling Feiyu. As for Xiaofan, he was born a live target. His cultivation was not high, and he had no backing. He was only good at taking hits and had a strong physique. What did he have to make Ling Husong kneel down? Everyone was shocked. Soon, some of the outer sect disciples started discussing, looks like this Xiaofan really went berserk in his cultivation. He's talking like a lunatic. Look at how impetuous Xiaofan is. It's as if he's some big shot. There's definitely something wrong with his brain. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Hearing Xiaofan's words, Ling Husong was so angry that he laughed. Little bastard, everyone says that you've cultivated until your brain is damaged. I think it's true. You trash. Bastard. At this moment, the corner of Xiaofan's mouth twitched. The next moment, bang. A loud sound exploded from Xiaofan's body. Heaven Duke was furious. Dragon Face was furious. Bone explosion style. 280 sounds of bone explosion combined into one. Smack, smack, smack. The surrounding tables and chairs were flipped over by the airwave. The hurricane swept through, and many cups and plates on the table fell to the ground and shattered. All the outer sect disciples in the entire cafeteria were stunned. His mind was instantly shaken. Their ears were buzzing. Ling Husong's eyes were dazed for a moment. All the strength in his body went limp. His muscles, bones, skin, flesh, and internal organs all relaxed. He looked at Xiaofan in a daze, and both of his knees trembled slightly. At the same time, after activating the bone explosion style, Xiaofan's aura rose continuously. His gaze was like the emperor's, and his majesty was like the abyss and the sea. He looked down on everyone. Kneel down. Xiaofan yelled. In an instant, Ling Husong was intimidated by Xiaofan's aura. He could not stand steadily, and with a plop, he knelt down. Since you've already knelt down, I'll forgive your offense. Not bad, kneel well. Xiaofan grinned. He immediately pulled the dizzy Ah Cho and walked towards the exit of the cafeteria. After a few breaths, Ling Husong came to his senses and stood up from the ground. He simply could not believe that he had knelt down just now. That was simply a great humiliation. Ling Husong was enraged. Just as he was about to chase after Xiaofan, suddenly, pft! The wine cup in Yang Lei's hand cracked and shattered, and wine splattered everywhere. Yang Lei's hair was already extremely messy. He held the broken pieces of the wine cup in his hand, and an uncontrollable murderous intent shot out from his eyes. Senior brother Yang Lei. Ling Husong said ferociously. Senior brother Ling Feiyu will be back soon. Let's go and welcome him first. This live target won't live for long. I swear. He won't live for long. Yang Lei stood up immediately. Sharp gusts of wind swept out from his body. He really had the murderous intent. Completely had the murderous intent. Chapter 19. Hee, senior brother Ah Cho, the feeling of making people kneel down is really satisfying, ha ha ha. Xiaofan laughed. Xiaofan. What did you do just now? You were using bone explosion, right? Ah Cho shook his head with force. But your bone explosion sound was like a landslide and tsunami. It was simply unparalleled. How strong is your body to be able to explode like that? Xiaofan, you're a monster. I even suspect that you're the reincarnation of an ancient savage beast. You're too scary. That's right. A martial artist at the peak of the viscera refinement realm like Ah Cho had 20 cauldrons of strength, his voice could travel 10 miles, and his body was unbelievably strong. Thus, Xiaohan's bone explosion style would definitely not be able to injure him. However, it was able to cause a martial artist of this level to be intimidated and suppressed for a short period of time. It was Xiaohan's first time using the bone explosion style and he received a miraculous effect. Thus, his interest in the Son of Heaven's divine fist grew. Comprehend force? Right now, I need to comprehend the first style of the Son of Heaven's divine fist, Sovereign's Descent. As Xiaofan walked, he frowned and pondered. Son of Heaven's Descent? Sovereign's Descent? Right at this moment, a few outer sect disciples walked over with hurried footsteps and chatted with each other. Quickly go to the stage. Senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran have returned from the martial world and agreed to spar with each other. This is a battle between geniuses, we must not miss it. That's right. These two senior brothers are the main characters of our peak and have a high chance of breaking through to the true Qi realm. They are extraordinary geniuses and must have comprehended many mysteries of the martial Tao during this martial world experience. Observing their spar will allow us to gain enlightenment on the martial Tao and help us cultivate. Alright. Don't talk nonsense. Let's go over quickly. If we miss this battle, we will regret it for life. There were constantly outer sect disciples that passed by Xiaofan in a hurry. All they talked about were the two great geniuses Ling Feiyu and Meng Ran. Xiaohan's body stopped. Senior brother Ah Cho, it seems like, the two great geniuses of our peak are going to spar on the stage. Why don't we go and take a look as well? Sure. Ah Cho didn't think too much and immediately nodded. Let's go. It was best not to miss a battle between geniuses. Their every move, every action, could possibly touch us. Xiaofan, weren't you asking me about force in the martial Tao earlier? Senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran had both comprehended their own force. You'll know once you take a look. Immediately, Xiaofan and Ah Cho turned around and walked towards the arena. Halfway up the mountain, in the arena area. At this moment, there were already 3 layers of outer court disciples surrounding them. All of them raised their heads in anticipation, and their faces were filled with admiration and excitement. Some of the female disciples even had shy and charming expressions on their faces, as if they were infatuated. Come, Xiaofan, let's go over. Cho brought Xiaofan to a corner and stood there. At this moment, the arena was empty. Ling Feiyu and Meng Ran had not arrived yet. But this did not affect the heated exchanges between the outer court disciples. Senior brother Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran, what do you think of this duel? I personally think highly of senior brother Ling Feiyu. Senior brother Ling Feiyu has already comprehended some of the Xi's force. His cultivation is unfathomable, and his corporeal body strength is even more tyrannical. I heard that senior brother Ling Feiyu once fought with a true energy realm martial artist and did not lose within 3 moves. Heavens! Fought with a true energy realm martial artist before? How many moves can he withstand? He's definitely a genius among geniuses. One must know that the difference between the corporeal body realm and the true energy realm is like an insurmountable chasm. Then I think highly of senior brother Ling Feiyu. Senior brother Ling Feiyu is very strong, that's not bad. But senior brother Meng Ran is not a weakling either. I've never heard of senior brother Meng Ran fighting with a true energy realm martial artist before. But senior brother Meng Ran personally killed a demon before. Senior brother Meng Ran's hurricane art is boundlessly violent. It's fine when he doesn't attack, but once he attacks, it'll take someone's life. Killed a demon? Impressive. Too impressive. Even ordinary corporeal body realm martial artists would be scared to death when they see a demon. How would they dare to kill one? Senior brother Meng Ran is too impressive. A disciple who can kill a demon will definitely receive great nurturing from the sect. As the surrounding outer sect disciples discussed, Chao's heart skipped a beat. Narrowing his eyes, he murmured. If one day, I'm as impressive as Ling Feiyu and senior brother Meng Ran and can make many outer sect disciples talk about me in private, then my life would not be in vain. However, Xiaofan was a little disapproving in his heart. There were a total of 2,000 outer sect disciples on this peak. It produced 2 geniuses, Ling Feiyu and Meng Ran. It could be said that they were 1 in 1,000 outer sect disciples on this peak. However, there were more than 20,000 outer sect disciples on the 10 peaks of the outer sect. There was probably more than 1 or 2 people like Ling Feiyu and Meng Ran, right? Furthermore, putting aside the true energy realm, there were still many inner sect disciples in Cloud Rain sect. On a larger scale, the Beacon Fire Empire had a population of tens of billions. There were 5 top sects and Cloud Rain sect was just one of them. Could it be that the other sects did not have geniuses? Other than the Beacon Fire Empire, there were still other empires and a large number of small and medium countries in the southern region. They're just 2 people who are 1 in 1,000, Xiaofan thought to himself. I'm not as good as them now, but it doesn't mean that I can't surpass them in the future. Right now, Xiaofan's mentality was more far-sighted. If it was in the past, Xiaofan's thoughts would definitely be the same as Ah Cho. However, after cultivating the Son of Heaven's divine fist, Xiaofan's mentality had unknowingly undergone some subtle changes. Right then, senior brother Ling Feiyu is here. Senior brother Ling Feiyu is here. Cheers erupted from the outer sect disciples. Xiaofan. Senior brother Ling Feiyu. Hurry and look. That's senior brother Ling Feiyu. Ah Cho tugged at Xiaofan's sleeves excitedly. Xiaofan shifted his gaze and saw a young man in sapphire blue robes strolling towards the ring casually. The young man was less than 20 years old and had fair skin. His facial features were extremely handsome and there were almost no flaws. As he walked, there were even ripples in the air and the salty smell of seawater spread everywhere. Behind him, there was even a blue ocean with a clear sky. One could vaguely hear the sounds of seagulls and the sound of whales leaping out of the sea and shooting water pillars. He had a vast aura about him. However, there was a hidden killing intent. His demeanor was like that of a noble that could not be violated. Ling Feiyu. The super genius of this peak, a person who was 1 in 1,000. This fellow indeed has a kind of charisma that makes people admire him. Xiaofan nodded secretly. Moreover, Xiaofan knew that the sea, seagulls, and whales that appeared behind Ling Feiyu were all illusions. However, it was hard to tell what was real and what was fake. It had the feeling of turning the fake into the real. The general trend of the sea? Could this be the general trend of the sea? He gives off the feeling of an ocean. Xiaofan's heart was stirred. A kind of obscure thing seemed to be about to burst out from Xiaohan's heart. Yang Lei, Ling Husong, and the other outer sect disciples followed behind Ling Feiyu. All of them were bowing and nodding with a servile expression on their faces. Not bad. Ling Feiyu, it looks like your comprehension of the force of the sea has deepened even more. You are qualified to be my, Meng Ran's, opponent. A sharp voice rang out from the other side of the arena. A dark-skinned young man strolled out. His facial features were firm and his hands were empty. His entire body emitted an indescribable sharp aura. He was like a sharp blade that was hidden in a scabbard. Once it was unsheathed, it would kill. His feet seemed to be stepping on the eye of a storm. A sharp hurricane raged and swept, and everywhere it passed, sand and stones flew. Meng ran. The genius of this peak who was as famous as Ling Feiyu. This Meng Ran can condense the aura around his body into a hurricane. He's powerful and very powerful. He's not inferior to Ling Feiyu, Xiaohan evaluated. The outer sect disciples who were watching the battle in the ring all held their breaths. The two great geniuses walked up the ring. Ling Feiyu, everyone says that the two of us are the top geniuses of this outer sect peak. Then, who will count one and who will count two? Let's compete today, Meng Ran said indifferently. Meng Ran, you're always so competitive. Ling Feiyu smiled elegantly. Our peak will rely on the two of us to be the last. Why must we compete on who's stronger? I'm not afraid of you, Meng Ran. However, isn't it much more interesting to fight with the experts of other peaks than fighting with me? It's fine. Meng Ran waved his hand. One move is enough. At our level of cultivation, we can determine the victor with one move. Ling Feiyu, use your full strength. This time, I went to the Hurricane Valley at the border of the southern region to comprehend the general force of the wind. I finally understood the concept of formless wind and form. If you don't use your full strength, you're no match for me. As he spoke, gusts of hurricanes whizzed out with Meng Ran as the center. In an instant, the entire ring was filled with wind. One move. Ling Feiyu smiled faintly. The seawater behind him was contrary to its calm state. It began to fluctuate and become more turbulent. The sound of waves crashing against reefs could be heard from Ling Feiyu's blood. The two great geniuses decided the victor with one move. Hurricane technique. Divine hurricane kick. All of a sudden, Meng Ran was the first to attack. He kicked his leg out. The move was extremely simple, but it triggered the power of the wind. The sound of the wind was loud in the ring, and the invisible hurricane began to transform into tangible dragons, tigers, sabers, swords, and thousands of horses. With an unparalleled momentum, they crushed toward Ling Feiyu. The wind is rising. Below the ring, the clothes of the outer sect disciples who were watching the battle were swept up by the strong wind. Their ears were filled with the whizzing sound of the wind. General force of the wind? Xiaohan's eyes shone brightly. The Emperor diagram immediately floated in his mind. Emperor's divine fist. The Emperor is the Emperor. Move the mountains and rivers, swallow the 8 desolates. Call yourself the Emperor, and tens of thousands bow down to you. With a snap of your fingers, you can kill and behead people as easily as blowing away dust. In the next moment, Xiaohan entered a state where he seemed to be thinking but not thinking. Sovereign descent? When the wind blows past, heaven and earth are desolate. After Rong Hua withers, the sovereign descends to the world and ascends the 9 levels pagoda to watch the night and the meteors. The sovereign descends to the world is a kind of momentum. If I don't do it, who else can? An invincible and tyrannical momentum. In the ring. A strong wind swept across the sea. The seawater churned. Meng Ran, you've indeed mastered the essence of the hurricane technique. Take this move of mine. Sea Whale Divine Fist. Ling Feiyu slowly punched with his right fist. Suddenly, a giant whale emerged from the sea behind Ling Feiyu. It swallowed the heavens and the earth and instantly supported Ling Feiyu's fist. Boom! The mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. The two of them exchanged blows. The stone slabs on the ring flew up one by one and exploded into pieces. Smoke and dust filled the air and completely enveloped the two of them. The outer sect disciples who were watching from below the ring kept quiet out of fear. They did not know who would win between Meng Ran and Ling Feiyu. When the smoke and dust on the ring dispersed, Ling Feiyu and Meng Ran stood facing each other from a distance. It was as if they had not exchanged blows just now. The ring had already been destroyed by the huge force. It was in a state of desolation. Ling Feiyu, you're not bad. This move was very satisfying. Meng Ran's figure moved. He flew down the ring like a swan in the night rain. Excuse me. I've gained some enlightenment after fighting with you. I'll fight again next time. Ha ha ha. Ling Feiyu smiled faintly. The seawater behind him became quiet and vast again. A bright moon rose from the surface of the sea. It was a spectacular sight. He slowly walked down the ring. Yang Lei, Ling Husong, and the others immediately surrounded him. Senior brother Ling Feiyu, did you win this move? Yang Lei asked in a low voice. We're on par. Ling Feiyu waved his hand. I'm going into seclusion for a few days now. Senior brother Ling Feiyu, that live target. Yang Lei hurriedly said. Shut up. Ling Feiyu swept his gaze across. Yang Lei almost prostrated himself. Yang Lei, you're also a marrow refinement realm martial artist. You can't even deal with a bone refinement realm weakling? I won't interfere in this matter. You can deal with him yourself. Yes, Yang Lei said submissively. At this moment, Ling Feiyu turned his gaze and looked directly at Xiaofan. The two of them were dozens of steps apart. However, Xiaofan could clearly feel an extremely dangerous pressure from Ling Feiyu's gaze. This pressure was as deep and boundless as the ocean. It made one feel insignificant. Xiaofan raised his head and glanced at Ling Feiyu. Then, he hurriedly closed his eyes and carefully comprehended. At this moment, Ling Feiyu walked over with Yang Lei and the others. Xiaofan. Ah Cho was dumbfounded. His legs were trembling. You're that live target, Xiaofan. Ling Feiyu actually came to Xiaohan's side. His gaze was as arrogant as an emperor. When he spoke to Xiaofan, it was as if an emperor was asking a beggar. You're on your own. After saying that, Ling Feiyu looked deeply at Xiaofan. Boom! It was as if Xiaofan was drowned by an ocean. However, the so-called great power of the ocean is to completely integrate one's essence, qi, and spirit into the ocean. One must treat oneself as the ocean and even become the ruler of this ocean. I understand. I finally understand, therefore, I shouldn't tremble, be timid, or crawl for that imperial portrait. I, Xiaofan, am the emperor. The emperor. The ruler of the world. The collapse of the universe. Xiaofan actually sat cross-legged and closed his eyes tightly. He entered a mysterious state of comprehension. There was emptiness. There was no one and no me. Ling Feiyu no longer looked at Xiaofan. It was as if such a small character was not worthy of his attention. Ling Feiyu floated away. Yang Lei, Ling Husong, and the others stayed where they were. They stared at Xiaofan with eyes full of killing intent. Xiaofan, what are you doing? Let's go. Ah Cho said at the side. At this moment, Ling Husong gave Yang Lei a look. Yang Lei nodded slightly. Xiaofan, don't play tricks here. Do you know my cousin, Ling Huxian? After being beaten by you, his talent was destroyed in a day. Today, I, Linghu Song, represent the Linghu clan to challenge you. Linghu Song roared beside Xiaofan. His hatred was monstrous. At this moment, boom! Xiaofan opened his eyes. At this moment, Xiaofan's gaze was like the emperor, like an emperor. He had the spirit to kill all living beings like blowing dust. As you wish. Xiaofan stood up. P.S. The recommendation votes did not reach 4,000 after all. However, thank you for everyone's support. There were no drafts for this book. Every word was written on the spot. This one is for you, you're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.